The last light drains from the sky, and you are standing at the edge of a vast grassland. The air cools against your cheeks. A breeze moves through the wild grass, bending the stalks low before they rise again, and the scent of damp earth rises around you. Wet soil turned by nothing but the rain and the passing of animals whose hooves have left shallow prints that hold the evening moisture. Beneath your feet, the ground gives slightly. It is still warm from the afternoon sun, that warmth bleeding up through the soles of your feet as the sun itself slips behind a distant ridge. The horizon holds the colour of the sun for a long moment. Gold, then deep lavender, then a grey so soft it barely exists before the darkness takes it. You are here. Before any wall, before any name carved into stone or spoken in a language that anyone will remember 10,000 winters from now. This is the world that never learned to write itself down. The long, slow, ancient world, where human beings walk beneath stars that have no names, beside rivers with no bridges, across plains that have never seen a plough or felt the pull of a seed dragged through the soil by human hands. The night is coming. Quiet. Deep. The way it has come for 1,000,000 nights before this one. The earth beneath you stretches in every direction, unhurried. To the west, low hills rise against the fading sky. Their rounded backs are covered in grasses that move like slow waves when the wind passes through, rippling from one hill to the next until the movement disappears somewhere beyond your sight. To the east, the land opens into a wide valley. A river runs through it, silent from this distance, but you can imagine the sound. Water against stone, water against root, water against the clay banks where the current has carved small caves where fish rest during the heat of the day. The trees along that river are ancient. Their roots drink from water that has flowed this way for thousands of years, long before any human being stood on this spot and watched the light fade. The grass brushes against your knees in some places. In others, where the wind has carved small hollows into the ground, it is shorter, softer, bleached nearly white by the sun. When you shift your weight, the grass bends and then rises again slowly, as though waking from a brief sleep. The sound of it moving around you is soft and continuous, a low rustling that never entirely stops. It sounds like the quiet turning of pages in a book too old to have a title. You smell the earth, deep and dark and rich. Soil that has never been turned by any tool. Soil that has accepted the falling rain and the fallen leaves and the bodies of animals who lay down here and did not rise again. Season after season, century after century, until the ground itself became something almost alive. Something that breathes slowly. Something that remembers everything laid upon it. Another smell cuts through, sharper, sweeter, wild herbs growing close to the ground somewhere nearby, releasing their fragrance into the cooling air. Crushed thyme, maybe. Or a kind of mint that grows only in this valley. Or something else entirely. Something with no name, because no one has ever needed to name it, only to recognize it when the evening wind carries it past. The sky changes. The last traces of colour dissolve into a deep, clear darkness that seems to go on forever. This is not the night sky you know from places where electric lights hide the stars. This is the true night, the ancient night. The sky as human beings saw it for 100,000 generations before anyone thought to write down what they saw. The stars crowd together in such numbers that the sky seems almost white in places. A great river of light flowing overhead from one horizon to the other. Some of these stars are sharp and bright, burning with a steady fire that has been travelling toward you for longer than human beings have walked upright. Others are softer, hazier, patches of light that might be clusters of stars too far away to see separately. Or maybe something else entirely. Something the people who sleep in this valley tonight will never try to explain. They have no need for explanations. only for the night itself. The moon has not yet risen. Perhaps it is a thin sliver somewhere behind the hills, too small to cast any light yet. The darkness is almost complete now, except for the stars and the faintest glow along the eastern horizon, the sun's memory, fading, your eyes adjust slowly. Shapes emerge that were hidden a few minutes ago. The darker shapes of trees standing alone in the grassland, their branches black against the deep blue of the sky. The slightly lighter shape of the river, reflecting starlight in long, broken lines that move and change as the water moves. The low shape of something else. An animal? Maybe. A rock. Nothing at all. Only a trick of the fading light that your mind tries to understand, because you are human, and humans have always tried to find shapes in the darkness. The air grows colder. You feel it on your cheeks and on the backs of your hands. The warmth of the ground beneath your feet seems to rise up through your body like something shared between you and the earth. Somewhere in the distance, an animal calls out across the valley. It is not a loud sound, not a startling sound. A low, rhythmic call that rises and falls like a question asked again and again. Another answers from somewhere closer. Then another from farther away. For a few moments, the night is filled with these voices, speaking in a language that has no words, only meaning that travels through the darkness from one creature to another. Then they fall silent, one by one. The wind returns, the river returns, the soft rustle of grass. Far out on the plain, perhaps an hour's walk from where you stand, the land dips. A shallow hollow, protected from the wind by a low ridge on one side and a grove of old trees on the other. A small fire burns there. From this distance, it is the tiniest orange glow, no brighter than the dimmest star but warmer in colour, more alive. Around that fire, human beings gather close together. Their bodies lean toward the heat. Their faces are lit from below by the dancing flames. They do not speak loudly. If you could hear their voices from here, they would sound low and steady, like water running over stones, sometimes rising into something that might be laughter, sometimes falling into long silences where nothing moves except the smoke rising from the fire and the hands of someone shaping something in the darkness. They have been here for many days. They will be here for many more, until the animals they hunt move to another valley, or the plants they gather stop flowering, or the seasons change and tell them it is time to walk somewhere else. They carry everything they own on their backs or in their hands. A few tools made of stone and bone and wood. The skins of animals worn against their bodies to keep them warm. The seeds of grasses they have gathered, stored in small bags made from woven fibres. The memory of places they have seen. Some of them so far away that the journey here took many moons, many sleeps, many rivers crossed, many hills climbed. They do not know that you are watching them from the edge of the grassland. They do not know that someone, thousands of years from this night, will try to imagine what their lives were like, will try to piece together the shape of their days from broken stones and old bones buried deep in the earth. They do not know that they are living in a time that will one day be called prehistory, a time before writing, a time that most of what comes after will forget. They only know the night, the fire, the people sitting close beside them, the stars overhead, the river, the grass, the slow turning of the world toward another dawn. The fire burns lower. Someone adds a branch. The flames leap up for a moment, sending sparks rising into the darkness like small, brief stars that flare and die before they reach the treetops. The light catches the faces of the people around the fire, and you see them for just a moment. The old woman with grey hair braided with feathers and small bones, her eyes half closed, her hands resting in her lap. The young man with a scar across his shoulder, sitting cross-legged, turning a piece of wood over and over in his hands. The child curled against her mother's side, already asleep, her face soft and peaceful in the firelight. The mother herself, looking up at the stars, her lips moving slightly, counting them maybe, naming them, or only breathing in the night air and feeling grateful for the warmth of the fire and the weight of her sleeping child. The world moved slowly then, the way deep rivers move, not hurrying toward any destination, simply flowing, because that was what rivers did, carrying everything along without effort or intention. The days were long or short depending on the season. The nights were cold or warm depending on the wind. The people who lived through those days and nights did not measure time in hours or years. They measured in sleeps and moons and winters. In the growing of children from helpless infants to strong hunters and careful gatherers. In the slow wearing down of stone tools and the slower wearing down of human bodies. In the distance between the place where your mother was born and the place where your own children will be born. A distance that might be measured in days of walking or in generations of remembering. Something remains. Something of that world still lives in the world you know. Hidden beneath the cities and the roads and the electric lights, buried under the names and the dates and the stories that history remembers. It lives in the way you feel when you stand alone in an open field at night, looking up at the stars, feeling small and large at the same time, connected to something older than memory. It lives in the way fire draws your attention, no matter how many screens surround you. The way water moving over stones calms something in your mind that words cannot reach. It lives in the shape of your own hands, the same shape they had 100,000 years ago, made for holding tools and touching the faces of the people you love. The night is long, the stars are patient, the fire in the hollow burns lower until only the embers remain, glowing red and orange beneath a thin layer of ash. The people around it have fallen asleep one by one, curled close together for warmth, their breath slow and even. Their dreams drift through the darkness of their sleeping minds like fish moving through deep water. The woman who was counting the stars has stopped counting. The old woman with grey hair has stopped moving her hands. The child sleeps on, her face pressed against her mother's chest, rising and falling with each breath the mother takes. The world, without hurry, moves on. The morning comes slowly. Darkness softens to grey, then to the faintest blue along the eastern edge of the sky. Birds begin to sing, not all at once, but one by one, each waiting as though listening for the one before to finish. Then the light reaches the grass, touching each blade individually, turning the dew into thousands of tiny mirrors that reflect the growing brightness back toward the sky. You are lying on your side, wrapped in an animal skin that smells of smoke and earth, and the body of the person who slept beside you until a few minutes ago. The ground beneath you has shaped itself to your body overnight. Your muscles have relaxed into it the way water relaxes into a hollow in rock. Your eyes open slowly. For a long moment, you do not move. You watch the light change. The world comes back into focus around you. Above, the branches of an old oak tree spread out against the sky, their leaves moving slightly in a breeze so gentle you cannot feel it on your skin, only see it in the motion of the smallest twigs at the ends of the branches. You remember where you are. This sheltered valley beside a river that carries cold, clear water down from mountains you have never seen. You have heard them described by travellers who passed through here 2 summers ago. The oak tree stands at the centre of the camp. Its roots form shallow hollows where people sit during the heat of the day. Its branches provide shade that shifts slowly across the ground as the sun moves from east to west. Around it, arranged in a loose circle, are the sleeping places of the 23 people who have been living here together since the spring floods receded and the first wild berries ripened on the bushes along the riverbank. You sit up slowly, pushing the animal skin aside. The morning air touches your arms and chest. Cool, but not cold, the kind of cool that wakes you gently rather than startling you into alertness. The ground beneath your hands feels damp from the dew. When you press your palms flat against it, you feel small stones and bits of broken shell mixed into the soil. Someone has already rebuilt the fire. The smoke rises in a thin, straight column toward the pale blue sky, carrying the smell of oak wood and something else, something cooking, maybe, or something heating near the flames. The woman who rebuilt the fire sits beside it now, her back against the largest root of the oak tree. Her legs stretched out in front of her, ankles crossed. She is older than most of the people in the camp, perhaps 40 or 45 winters, old enough to have seen almost everything there is to see in this part of the world. Her hair is grey and white and brown all mixed together, worn loose around her shoulders with a single feather tucked behind her left ear. In her hands, she holds a piece of antler that she is carving slowly into something you cannot yet recognize. She uses a stone blade so small and sharp that it fits entirely within her closed fist. She does not look up when you sit up, but her mouth curves into a small smile, and you know that she knows you are awake. You stand. Stretch your arms above your head until your spine makes a soft sound. Then you walk barefoot across the damp ground toward the fire. The grass here has been flattened by so many feet passing over it that it no longer springs back up. It lies in a soft matted carpet, warm from the heat of the day before, cool from the dew of the morning, both at once. Your feet know this ground, every stone, every root, every hollow. You do not need to look down to know where to place them. You have walked this path 1,000 times since the spring floods receded. From your sleeping place to the fire. From the fire to the river. From the river to the place where the best flint is found. From the flint bed back to the fire again, over and over, until the shape of the camp has been worn into your body as deeply as the shape of your own bones. The woman hands you a piece of roasted root without speaking, still warm from the coals where it has been buried since last night. You take it and sit down beside her, leaning back against the same root, feeling the rough bark against your shoulder blades. The root is sweet and soft. You eat it slowly, biting off small pieces and letting them rest on your tongue before swallowing. She continues her carving. The two of you sit together in the silence of the early morning, listening to the birds and the river and the soft breathing of the people still sleeping around you. The people who live in this camp are hunter-gatherers. That is the name that will be given to them thousands of years from now by people who study the past, but it is not a name they would recognize or understand. They do not think of themselves as hunters or gatherers. They think of themselves as people, as the people, as the only people who matter, because they are the only people they know. The valley is their home, not the way a house is a home, with walls and doors and rooms. The valley is their home the way the ocean is a home to fish, or the sky is a home to birds. It contains everything they need to live. They know it the way you know the face of someone you have slept beside for 20 years. Every line and shadow and change, every expression and mood and hidden depth. There are other people in the world beyond the valley. They know this because sometimes when the seasons change and the animals move along their ancient migration routes, strangers appear at the edge of the camp. These strangers speak languages that are almost the same as their own but not quite. Different words for common things, different ways of shaping the sounds that come out of their mouths. Sometimes the strangers bring gifts. Stones from faraway places that can be flaked into blades sharper than any found in this valley. Shells from a sea that no one in the camp has ever seen. Pieces of amber that catch the light and glow from within like trapped sunlight. Sometimes the strangers bring news, stories of rivers that have changed their courses, mountains that have shaken the earth, groups of people who have moved into territory that used to belong to someone else. And sometimes the strangers bring nothing but their hands, empty and open. The people of the camp feed them and let them sleep by the fire and give them tools to replace the ones they have broken on their long journey. In the morning, the strangers walk away toward the eastern hills or the western plain, and no one in the camp ever sees them again. This is how the world works. This is how it has always worked, for as long as anyone can remember, which is not very long in the way that history measures time, but long enough for the people who are living it. The sun rises higher. The camp begins to wake. A young man emerges from his sleeping place, rubbing his eyes with the backs of his hands, yawning so widely that his jaw cracks. A woman follows him, carrying a baby on her hip, the baby's head bobbing sleepily against her shoulder. An old man sits up slowly, his joints stiff from the cold ground, and begins to massage his knees with hands that are gnarled and swollen, but still strong. The baby starts to cry, a thin, reedy sound that rises and falls like the wind. The mother shifts the baby to her other hip and begins to walk back and forth, making a soft, shushing sound that is older than language, older than human beings perhaps, a sound that mammals have been making to their young since the first warm-blooded mothers held their first helpless infants against their bodies. By the time the sun has cleared the tops of the eastern hills, everyone in the camp is awake. The fire has been built up with more wood. Flames leap and dance, sending sparks up into the air where they disappear against the brightness of the sky. Someone is grinding seeds between two stones. The sound is rhythmic and low, like a heartbeat slowed down to half its normal speed. Someone else is scraping a hide stretched across a wooden frame. The stone scraper moves in long, even strokes, removing the last bits of fat and tissue from the inner surface of the skin. A group of children, too young to help with the real work of survival, chase each other around the edge of the camp. Their laughter is bright and sharp in the morning air. Their feet are bare and dirty. Their hair is tangled and full of small bits of grass and leaves. You sit with the woman who carved the antler, watching the camp come alive around you. She has stopped carving now and holds the piece of antler up to the light, turning it slowly between her fingers, examining the shape emerging from the bone. A hook, maybe, for catching fish. A fastener, maybe, for holding two pieces of hide together. Or something else entirely, something she has not yet decided on. Something that will reveal itself to her hands as she continues to work. She does not plan the shape in her mind before she begins. She lets the antler tell her what it wants to become. She follows the grain of the bone the way a river follows the slope of the land, always moving toward the easiest path. This way of working, this deep attention to the material itself, is common to all the people in the camp. They do not impose their will on the world. They listen to the world, and the world tells them what is possible. The flint tells you where it will break and where it will not. The wood tells you which branches are strong enough to hold a weight and which will snap under pressure. The river tells you where the fish gather and where the current is too dangerous to cross. The sky tells you when the rain is coming and when the cold weather will arrive and when the seasons are about to turn. Everything speaks if you know how to listen. The people of the camp have spent their whole lives learning how to listen. The morning passes slowly, measured not by clocks, but by the movement of the sun across the sky and the changing angle of the shadows beneath the oak tree. You help repair a fishing net that tore yesterday when a large fish thrashed inside it. Your fingers move automatically through the familiar motions of knotting and weaving. The fibres of the net are rough against your skin. You take a turn grinding seeds, feeling the weight of the stone in your hands, the slow circular motion that crushes the hard seeds into a coarse flour. You walk down to the river with two of the children to fill the water containers. Your feet sink slightly into the mud at the edge of the water. The cold of the river seeps up through the soles of your feet and spreads through your body like a slow wave. The river is clear and cold. You see the shapes of fish moving beneath the surface, their bodies silver and grey, their fins flickering as they turn and turn again. The children splash their hands in the water, laughing. You do not tell them to stop. There is no reason to tell them to stop. No urgent task waiting. No schedule to keep. The water containers fill slowly, one after another. You carry them back up the slope to the camp, your arms aching slightly from the weight, your breath coming a little faster than before. The woman who carved the antler is now working on a different project, a piece of wood that she is hollowing out with a burning stick. Patiently charring the inside of the wood and then scraping away the burnt material with a stone tool. Repeating the process over and over until the hollow is deep enough to hold water or store seeds or cook a small amount of food. This is the work of survival, but it does not feel like work, not the way work feels in a world of deadlines and obligations and things that must be done before the day ends. It feels like breathing, like walking, like the slow, steady rhythm of a body that knows what it needs to do and does it without hurry or anxiety. There is no word in the language of these people for boredom. Boredom requires an expectation that something more interesting should be happening, and these people have no such expectation. This is life. This is all life has ever been. The grinding of seeds, the scraping of hides, the mending of nets, the carrying of water. These are not tasks to be completed so that something else can begin. They are life itself, unfolding moment by moment, day by day, year by year, in a rhythm that has no beginning and no end. The sun reaches its highest point. The shadows shrink almost to nothing beneath the oak tree. Heat settles over the camp, and the activity slows even further. People move into the shade, sitting or lying on the soft ground, their eyes half closed, their bodies relaxing into the warmth. The children stop running and curl up together like a litter of puppies. Their breathing deepens into sleep within minutes. The old man who was massaging his knees this morning now lies on his side, his mouth open slightly, a thin line of drool running from the corner of his lips onto the ground beneath his head. Even the birds have gone quiet, retreating into the deepest shade they can find, waiting for the heat to pass. You lie down beneath the oak tree. Your head rests on a bundle of folded hides that serves as a pillow. You watch the leaves move against the sky. The breeze has died completely. The air is still and heavy, thick with the smell of dust and dry grass and the faint sweetness of wild roses growing along the riverbank. A fly lands on your arm and walks slowly across your skin, its feet tickling. You do not brush it away. There is no need to brush it away. No urgency, no reason to disturb the perfect stillness of the afternoon. The fly takes off again, buzzing briefly, then silence. Only the sound of your own breathing, the distant murmur of the river, the soft, almost inaudible sound of the earth turning beneath you. You sleep. While you sleep, you dream. Not the sharp, vivid dreams of a mind crowded with images and sounds and words. Deep, slow dreams. Dreams that feel more like memories than fantasies. Dreams of places you have never seen, but that feel familiar, somehow. As though you have been there before, as though you have always been there, as though there is nowhere else you could possibly be. In your dream, you walk along a ridgeline, following the path of an old animal trail worn into the stone by thousands of hooves over thousands of years. The sky is grey and low, the colour of river stones. The air smells of rain that has not yet begun to fall. Below you, in the valley, you see the smoke rising from the camp, thin and grey against the darker grey of the sky. You know that you will find your way back there when the dream ends. When you wake. When the afternoon heat has passed and the shadows have begun to lengthen again toward the east. The dream shifts. You stand at the edge of a forest you have never seen before. Trees so tall that you cannot see their tops, their branches lost in a mist that hangs low over everything. The ground beneath your feet is soft with fallen leaves. Every step makes a sound like tearing cloth, dry leaves crumbling under your weight. Somewhere in the distance, someone is singing, a wordless melody that rises and falls like the wind. You walk toward the sound, pushing aside low branches, stepping over fallen logs, moving deeper into the green darkness beneath the trees. The singing grows louder, but never clearer, never resolves into words or even into notes. Remains always just outside your ability to understand it, like a language you almost remember but cannot quite speak. You walk for a long time. Then, the dream begins to fade. The edges of the forest soften and dissolve. The singing grows quieter and quieter until it is gone entirely. You are left with nothing but darkness and the feeling of movement, of falling slowly, of returning to your body the way a river returns to the sea. When you wake, the sun has moved past its highest point and is beginning its long descent toward the western hills. The shadows have stretched out again, reaching across the ground like dark fingers. The camp stirs back to life. The woman who carved the antler is awake and working again, her hands moving with the same slow patience as before, as though the afternoon nap never happened, as though time flows continuously like water, always the same and always changing. The children sit in a circle near the fire. One of the older women shows them how to knap flint, striking a rounded stone against the edge of a larger flint nodule, creating sharp flakes that scatter across the ground like broken glass. The children watch with wide eyes, their hands reaching out to touch the sharp edges. The woman slaps their hands away gently. A lesson repeated so many times that it has become almost a game, almost a ritual, almost a prayer. You sit up slowly, your body still heavy with sleep, your mind still partly in the dream, partly in the world. The afternoon heat is less oppressive now. A breeze has returned, moving through the camp and carrying the smell of the river and the grass and the distant hills. You stand and stretch and walk to the edge of the camp, where the ground rises slightly into a low ridge overlooking the valley. From here you see the river winding away to the south, its course marked by the darker green of the trees growing along its banks. You see the grasslands stretching to the north and west, endless and golden in the afternoon light, with here and there a darker patch where a grove of trees has found enough water to survive. You see the hills to the east, low and rounded, covered in the same golden grass. Beyond them, if you look carefully, the faint blue line of mountains so far away that they never seem to get any closer no matter how many days you walk toward them. This is your world. This valley, this river, these hills, this sky, everything you know, everything you have ever known, everything your mother knew and her mother before her, everything your children will know if they live long enough to have children of their own. It is not a large world, not by the standards that will come later, when people will travel thousands of miles in a single lifetime and see oceans and deserts and mountain ranges that would take years to cross on foot. But it is large enough. It contains everything you need. The river gives you water and fish and the smooth stones that are best for making certain kinds of tools. The grasslands give you the animals you hunt and the plants you gather and the wood you burn for warmth. The hills give you the flint and the quartz and the other stones that hold sharp edges when you strike them correctly. The sky gives you the sun and the moon and the stars, the patterns of clouds that tell you when the rain is coming, the winds that tell you when the seasons are about to turn, and the earth gives you everything else. The ground to sleep on. The soil to bury your dead in. The deep, steady sense of being held by something larger than yourself. Something that does not change, even when everything else changes. Something that will still be here when you are gone. When your children are gone. When the children of your children's children have forgotten your name and the sound of your voice and the shape of your face. The earth remembers and moves slowly onward. The sun sinks lower. The colours of the world begin to change. Golden grass turns to copper, then to bronze. Shadows lengthen and deepen. The sky above the western hills fills with shades of orange and pink and purple. No names for them, because no one has needed to name them, only to watch them and feel the quiet wonder that comes when the day ends and the night begins. The people in the camp gather around the fire, bringing their work with them, sitting close together as the air cools and darkness gathers at the edges of the clearing. Someone has killed a rabbit. It roasts on a stick over the flames, fat dripping into the fire and sending up small bursts of flame and smoke. The smell of cooking meat fills the camp. The children press closer, their stomachs growling, their eyes fixed on the food that is not quite ready yet. The woman who carved the antler sits in her usual place, her back against the oak tree, her legs stretched out in front of her. The antler is almost finished now, the hook or fastener or whatever it is taking its final shape beneath her hands. She holds it up to the firelight, examining it from every angle. Then she nods once, satisfied, and sets it aside. Tomorrow she will begin something else. Or the day after. Or perhaps she will not make anything at all for a while. Only sit by the fire and watch and remember and let her hands rest. There is no schedule, no list of things that must be made. Only the work, and the work will always be there. Waiting, patient, unhurried, the rabbit is done, divided among the people. Each person receives a small piece of meat, not enough to fill a stomach, but enough to taste. Enough to remember that the world provides. Enough to share the simple pleasure of eating together around a fire as the night comes on. The meat is chewy and slightly burnt in places. It tastes of smoke and fat and the wild herbs that grew where the rabbit lived. You eat it slowly, letting each bite rest on your tongue before swallowing, feeling the warmth spread through your body like the warmth of the fire spreading through the camp. After the eating is done, someone begins to tell a story. Not a long story, not a complicated story, a story that everyone has heard before, about the time the river rose so high that it flooded the entire valley and the people had to climb the hills and wait for 3 days until the water went down. The storyteller is an old man, older even than the woman who carved the antler, so old that his eyes are clouded and he cannot see clearly except when the light is just right, so old that his hands shake when he tries to hold anything smaller than a rabbit. But his voice is strong, his memory is clear. He tells the story the way it has always been told. The same words in the same order, the same pauses at the same moments, the same gestures at the same places in the narrative. The children listen with their mouths open, even though they have heard this story 100 times before. The adults listen too, their faces soft in the firelight, their bodies relaxed and still. This is how knowledge passes from one generation to the next in a world without writing. Not through books or lectures or examinations, through stories told around fires, through songs sung while working, through hands that show other hands how to knap flint and scrape hides and hollow wood with burning sticks. The old man telling the story about the flood is not just entertaining the children. He is teaching them that the river is dangerous when the snow melts in the mountains. Teaching them that the hills are safe when the water rises. Teaching them that the people survived because they worked together, because they listened to the ones who remembered what had happened before, because they did not panic or fight or try to keep the best places for themselves. These are the lessons that matter. These are the lessons that will keep the children alive when the floods come again, as they will come again, as they have always come, as they will always come for as long as the river flows down from the mountains. The story ends, the fire crackles, stars begin to appear in the sky above the oak tree. One by one, the people drift away from the fire to their sleeping places, wrapping themselves in their animal skins, curling up against the cool ground, closing their eyes to the darkness. The old woman with the grey hair and the feather behind her ear is the last to leave the fire. She adds one more branch to the flames before she walks slowly to her sleeping place, her feet dragging slightly, her body tired from another day of being alive in a world that asks everything of her and gives everything back in return. You lie on your back, looking up at the stars through the branches of the oak tree. The leaves block some of the light, but enough gets through. You see the patterns, the clusters, the one star that is brighter than all the others, the one that seems to move slightly when you look at it directly, but holds still when you look at it from the corner of your eye. You do not know what the stars are. No one in the camp knows what the stars are. There are stories, of course. There are always stories. Stories about spirits and ancestors and the eyes of creatures too large to imagine. But no one believes these stories completely. Not the way they believe that the river will flood when the snow melts, or that the rabbit will run when it sees the hunter, or that the fire will burn when you add wood to it. The stars are a mystery. They will remain a mystery. That is fine. That is how it should be. A world with no mysteries would be a world not worth living in. The night is long. The stars are patient. The fire burns lower, embers glowing red and orange beneath the ash. The camp settles into the deep silence of sleep. Somewhere in the darkness, an owl calls out, its voice soft and questioning. Another owl answers from farther away. Then only the wind and the river and the slow turning of the earth beneath you. You close your eyes. The world fades. You sleep. The world your ancestors knew was not the world you walk through today. Colder, drier, faster in ways that are difficult to imagine from the warmth of this campfire under this mild sky. There was a time, not so long ago in the long memory of the earth, when ice covered everything north of these hills. The mountains wore white all year long. The rivers ran thick with meltwater every summer. The grasslands stretched farther than any human being could walk in a lifetime, and the animals that moved across them were larger than anything you have ever seen. You were not there. No one in this camp was there. But the old ones remember stories that their old ones told them. Stories about the time when the cold never left, when the wind came from the north and never stopped, when the snow fell in the high places and stayed there, year after year, century after century, until the ice was so deep that it had its own weight, its own gravity, its own slow grinding movement down the valleys and across the plains. The ice moved like water, but slower, so much slower that you could watch it for your entire life and never see it shift. But shift it did, inch by inch, foot by foot, mile by mile, carving the land into new shapes, pushing boulders the size of houses across the countryside, gouging deep grooves into the bedrock that would still be visible thousands of years later, long after the ice itself had gone. Your ancestors lived at the edge of that ice, not too close. No one could live too close, not with the cold that came off the glaciers, not with the winds that swept down from the ice sheets and froze everything they touched, but close enough that they could see it on clear days, a line of white on the northern horizon, so bright that it hurt to look at, so vast that it seemed to go on forever. Close enough that they could feel it in the summer temperatures, cooler than they would be for your children, cooler than they would be for your children's children, as the ice began very slowly, to release its hold on the world. The melting did not happen quickly. It could not happen quickly, not with so much ice, not with ice that had been building for 100,000 years or more. The glaciers began to retreat, but they retreated the way a very old person walks. One small step at a time, pausing often, sometimes even taking a step backward, when the climate cooled again for a few centuries. The edge of the ice moved north, then stopped, then moved north again, then stopped again. Then, finally, after thousands of years of this slow, hesitant dance, it began to move more steadily, more consistently, as though the earth had finally decided that the cold was over and the warmth was here to stay. As the ice retreated, the world changed. Not overnight, not within a single lifetime. Slowly enough that each generation noticed something different, something new, something that their parents had told them about, but that they were now seeing with their own eyes. The rivers grew fuller, fed by the meltwater that poured off the glaciers every summer. They carved new channels through the soft earth, creating floodplains that had never existed before, depositing rich silt on the low ground where new plants took root and grew. The sea rose, so slowly that no one could watch it happen, but so steadily that places which had been dry land when your great-grandmother was born were now underwater. Their trees drowned, their animal trails lost beneath the waves. New lakes formed in the depressions left by the ice, clear and cold, and full of fish. Around these lakes, the first forests began to grow. Not the familiar forests of oak and elm that you know. Different forests, forests of birch and pine, and other trees that could tolerate the cold that still lingered in the soil. The animals changed too. The great beasts that had roamed the grasslands at the edge of the ice, the woolly creatures with thick fur and long curved tusks. The enormous deer with antlers so wide that two people could not stretch their arms across them. The shaggy horses and the massive bison and the cave lions that hunted them all. These animals began to disappear. Some moved north, following the retreating ice, looking for the cold places they needed to survive. Others simply died out, unable to adapt to the warming climate, unable to find enough food as the grasslands gave way to forests, unable to compete with the new animals that moved in from the south. The people who hunted them had to adapt too, finding new prey, learning new techniques, following the herds into unfamiliar territory, or staying behind and learning to live on smaller animals, on fish, on the plants that grew more abundantly now that the ice was gone. This was the world your ancestors inherited. A world in transition. A world between ice and warmth, between the old ways and the new. A world where nothing was certain except change itself, where the landscape shifted from one generation to the next, where rivers moved and lakes appeared and forests crept across land that had been open grassland for as long as anyone could remember. It was a difficult time to be alive. But it was also a time of possibility, a time when human beings learned to adapt in ways they never had before, to live in places they had never lived, to eat foods they had never eaten, to think thoughts that no one had ever thought, because no one had ever needed to think them. You are walking across a landscape that still bears the marks of that great transition, even though the ice itself is gone, even though the last glaciers retreated from these hills many generations ago. The ground beneath your feet is uneven, hummocky, full of small depressions and low ridges with no obvious pattern, the way a field that has been ploughed looks after the rain has smoothed it over. These are the remains of the ice, the places where it pushed up the earth and then melted, leaving behind a chaotic jumble of soil and stone and sand that will take thousands more years to settle into something smooth and flat. In some of the depressions, water has collected, small ponds that are neither river nor lake, but something in between. Their surfaces covered in green scum, their edges lined with cattails and reeds. The air is warmer than it was in your great-grandmother's time. You feel it in the length of the summers, in the way the snow melts earlier each spring and comes later each autumn, in the way the plants that used to grow only in the southern valleys are now appearing here, in the way the birds that used to fly south for the winter are sometimes staying longer, or not leaving at all. The change is so slow that you barely notice it, the way you barely notice your own children growing taller, until you look at a drawing you made of them last year and see how much they have changed. But the old ones notice. They remember the winters of their youth. Colder and longer, the snow piled higher against the walls of their shelters, the wind sharper and more bitter. They remember when the river froze solid every winter, so thick that you could walk across it, so thick that the animals walked across it, and the hunting was easy because the deer could not escape. Now the river freezes only in the coldest parts of the winter, and even then the ice is thin, dangerous, not to be trusted. You stop walking, stand still, your feet planted on the uneven ground. Your eyes scan the horizon in all directions. To the north, the line of hills that your people call the Old Hills, because they were old when the ice came, and they will be old when the ice returns, if it ever returns. To the south, the river, wider now than it was in your mother's time, wider than it was in your mother's mother's time. The river that has been cutting through this valley for so long that no one remembers when it was not here. To the east, the forest, dark and deep. The forest that has been creeping closer every year, sending out runners and seeds and new shoots, claiming more and more of the grassland for its own. To the west, the open plain. What is left of it, the place where the great herds still pass through in the spring and autumn, following the ancient routes that their ancestors followed before the ice came, and before the ice went, and before human beings ever set foot in this valley. The plain is where you are going, where the animals are. The deer, the horses, the great wild cattle that still graze in numbers large enough to feed a camp for a whole winter. The plain is where your people have always hunted, since before the ice, since before the oldest stories, since the time when the great woolly beasts still walked the earth, and the hunters followed them across the frozen grasslands with spears of wood and stone. The plain is home, in a way that the forest will never be, in a way that the river valley will never be. Because the plain is open, you can see for miles. You know what is coming. You are not surprised. The forest hides things. Shadows, dark places, sounds that you cannot identify. The plain is honest. The plain tells you everything. The plain has nothing to hide. You walk on. Your feet carry you across the uneven ground. Your body leans slightly into the breeze blowing from the north, carrying the smell of the old hills and the cold places beyond them. The sun is warm on your shoulders, warmer than it would have been in your great-grandmother's time. You are grateful for the warmth, even though you know, somewhere in the back of your mind, that the warmth means change, that the warmth means the world is not what it used to be, that the warmth means the old ways will not work forever. But you do not think about that. You think about the walk, the ground beneath your feet, the animals you hope to find on the plain, the camp you will return to when the hunting is done. The landscape around you tells the story of the ice in 1,000 small details, if you know how to read them. The boulders scattered across the field, some as large as a sleeping person, some larger than a shelter. All of them made of a kind of stone that does not belong here, that comes from somewhere else. Somewhere far away, somewhere the ice picked them up and carried them and dropped them when it melted. The long, low ridges that run from north to south, parallel to each other, like the wrinkles on the back of an old animal. The places where the ice pushed the earth ahead of it as it moved. The deep round holes in the ground, filled with water. Perfectly circular, as if someone had dug them with a tool. But no one dug them. The ice made them. The ice left blocks of itself buried in the ground, and when the blocks melted, the ground collapsed into the space they left behind. Your ancestors knew these marks for what they were. They did not have the words to explain them the way a scientist would explain them, with measurements and theories and evidence. But they had stories. The stories were true in the way that stories are true, not factually, deeply, not literally. Essentially, the boulders were the gifts of the ice giants, thrown across the landscape in games that no human being could understand. The ridges were the bones of the earth, exposed when the cold wore away the skin that covered them. The round ponds were the footprints of the great cold spirits who danced across the land when no one was watching and left behind the marks of their passing. These stories were not true in the way that the river is true or the sun is true. But they were true enough. True for the people who told them. True for the children who heard them. True for the generations who would repeat them long after the ice had gone and the world had warmed and the old ways had been forgotten. You reach the edge of the plain and stop. Your body still. Your eyes searching the distance. The plain stretches out before you. Golden and green. Grass waving in the breeze. The sky vast and blue above it. Animals out there. Small dark shapes in the distance that might be deer or might be horses or might be something else entirely. You watch them for a long time. Not moving, barely breathing, letting your eyes adjust to the distance, letting your mind sort through the possibilities. They are too far away to hunt, too far away to identify. But they are there. That is enough. That is everything, because where there are animals today, there will be animals tomorrow. Where there are animals tomorrow, there is food for the camp. Where there is food for the camp, there is life. Where there is life, there is hope. Where there is hope, there is the future. You sit down on a low ridge, grass soft beneath you. The earth warm through the thin leather of your clothing. The sun is past its highest point, beginning its long slide toward the western hills. Shadows stretch out across the plain, making the shapes of the animals harder to see. You do not mind. You are not here to hunt today. You are here to watch. To remember. To learn the patterns of this place the way you have learned the patterns of every place you have ever walked. The animals will move in certain ways at certain times of day. If you watch long enough, you will know where they will be tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. This is the knowledge that feeds the camp, not the knowledge that comes from books or maps or instructions from faraway places. The knowledge that comes from sitting on a ridge and watching and waiting and letting the world teach you what it has to teach. The breeze shifts. For a moment, you catch the smell of something far away. Smoke? Maybe. Dust? Maybe. Nothing at all. Only your nose playing tricks on you in the open air. You breathe in deeply, trying to identify the smell. Then it is gone, replaced by the clean scent of grass and earth and the faint sweetness of wildflowers growing somewhere out of sight. The plain is full of smells at this time of day. The smells of animals and plants and the soil itself, all mixed together in a way that is unique to this place, to this moment, to this particular combination of wind and sun and season. You will remember this smell without trying, without intending to, the way you remember the smell of your mother's hair or the smell of the fire in the camp or the smell of the river after a rain. It will stay with you somewhere deep in your mind. One day, years from now, you will smell something similar and be carried back to this ridge, this afternoon, this moment of stillness between the ice and the warmth. The Ice Age is over. It ended so slowly that no one noticed it ending. No one declared it finished. No one marked the date on any calendar because there were no calendars and no dates and no one who cared about such things. But it is over. The world is warmer now. The ice is gone from these valleys. The great beasts that once walked here are gone too, except for the stories and the bones that occasionally turn up in the soil when someone is digging a storage pit or a grave. The people who live in this world have changed too. Not in their bodies, in their minds, their habits, the way they think about the world and their place in it. They have learned to live without the ice, without the cold, without the great herds that once provided so much of their food. They have learned to eat new things, to live in new places, to make new tools for new tasks. They have learned that change is possible, that the world can become something different and still be the world, that life can continue even when everything you thought you knew turns out to be wrong. You sit on the ridge until the sun touches the western hills, until the shadows on the plain stretch out so long that they touch the eastern horizon, until the animals in the distance have moved out of sight and the birds have gone quiet and the breeze has died down to almost nothing. Then you stand slowly, your joints stiff from sitting so long in one position. You begin the walk back to the camp. The light is golden now, the colour of the grass in the late afternoon, the colour of the hides that hang outside the shelters, the colour of the eyes of the old woman who carved the antler, the colour of everything that is old and patient and full of memories. The camp is quieter than usual when you return. The fire burns, but no one sits around it. The shelters are closed, the hides pulled down to keep out the evening chill. You walk through the camp, past the sleeping places and the work areas and the place where the children play. You do not see anyone, but you hear them. Soft voices from inside the shelters. The murmur of conversation. The sound of someone singing a song so old that no one knows where it came from, only that it has always been sung, that it will always be sung, that it is as much a part of the world as the river or the plain or the stars. You find the old woman in her shelter. She sits cross-legged on a pile of hides, her hands busy with something you cannot see in the dim light. She does not look up when you enter, but she shifts slightly, making room for you beside her. You sit down, feeling the warmth of her body through the darkness, feeling the presence of her spirit, old and strong and full of the kind of knowledge that cannot be spoken, only felt. She hands you something, a piece of the roasted root from this morning. Cold now, but still good. You eat it in the darkness, chewing slowly, tasting the sweetness and the earth and the memory of the fire that cooked it. Outside, the wind picks up, blowing from the north, carrying the cold that still lives in the old hills. The cold that is all that remains of the Ice Age. The cold that will linger for thousands more years before it finally fades away. You shiver. The old woman puts her arm around you, pulling you closer, sharing her warmth the way people have always shared warmth. The way people shared warmth when the ice covered the land and the great beasts roamed the plains and the world was colder than anything you can imagine. Her arm is thin and bony, but it is strong. You relax into her. Let your eyes close. Let your breathing slow. Let the darkness and the warmth and the soft sound of her breathing carry you towards sleep. The Ice Age is over, but the world it left behind is still here, still changing, still moving slowly from cold to warm, from ice to water, from the old ways to the new. You are part of that change. Whether you know it or not, whether you want it or not, your children will live in a world that is warmer still, a world where the ice is only a memory, a world where the great beasts are only bones in the ground, a world where the old stories will be told by people who never saw the ice, never felt the cold, never walked across the frozen plains with a spear in their hand and the breath of the woolly creatures hanging in the air like clouds. Those children will tell their children. Their children will tell their children. The stories will change and shift and grow. But something will remain. Something of the ice. Something of the cold. Something of the long struggle to survive in a world that was not made for human beings, but that human beings learned to live in anyway. The night is long. The stars are patient. The wind blows from the north, and the old woman holds you close, and the camp sleeps, and the world turns, and the ice that once covered everything is gone, but not forgotten. Never forgotten. As long as there are people to remember and stories to tell, and the cold that still comes every winter. Reminding you, reminding everyone, that the ice is not so far away, that it could return, that the world is not as warm as it seems, that beneath the warmth there is cold, and beneath the cold there is ice, and beneath the ice there is the memory of a time when human beings lived at the edge of a frozen world and somehow survived. Something is changing in the way people live. You have felt it for several years now, perhaps without putting words to the feeling, perhaps without even recognizing it as a change at all. The camp where you spent your childhood moved every few moons, following the herds, following the ripening of plants, following the seasons in an endless circle that brought you back to the same places at the same times each year. But this camp, the camp where you live now, has been here for longer than you can remember. Not your whole life perhaps, but long enough that the children who were born here have never slept anywhere else. Long enough that the old woman who carved the antler has stopped talking about the places she used to go when she was young. The rivers she crossed, the hills she climbed, the distant valleys where the hunting was better than anything you will ever see. The river is why you stay, not just this river. All rivers, all lakes, all places where water meets land in ways that make life easier, safer, more predictable. The people who lived before the ice, the ones who followed the great herds across the frozen plains, they did not stay anywhere for long. They could not. The herds moved, and the people followed. The herds were food. Food was life. Life was movement. But now, the herds are smaller. The great beasts are gone. The people have learned that there are other ways to fill their stomachs. Fish, for one thing. The river is full of fish, and fish do not run away when you approach them. Do not migrate hundreds of miles with the changing seasons. Do not require you to follow them across the entire continent. The fish are here, in this bend where the water slows and deepens. They will be here tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, as long as the river flows and the water stays clean. The plants are another reason to stay. The old woman who carved the antler, she knows every plant that grows within a day's walk of the camp. Which roots are sweet and which are bitter, which seeds can be ground into flour and which will make you sick, which leaves can be eaten raw and which must be cooked, which stems can be woven into baskets and which will break if you try to bend them. She learnt this knowledge from her mother, who learned it from her mother, who learned it from the women who lived beside a different river, in a different time, when the ice was closer and the summers were shorter and the plants grew in different places than they grow today. But the knowledge adapts, the way everything adapts, the way the plants themselves adapt, sending their seeds a little farther each year, finding new places to grow as the climate warms and the soil changes and the old places become too dry or too wet or too crowded with other plants. You are walking along the riverbank. Your feet sink slightly into the damp soil. The smell of mud and water and rotting vegetation rises around you. The river is high today, higher than it was yesterday, higher than it was last week. The snow is melting in the mountains, and the meltwater is pouring down the tributaries, filling the main channel until it overflows its banks in places, spreading out across the low ground, creating temporary lakes that will dry up when the summer heat comes. You see the places where the water has risen, lines of debris left behind on the trunks of the trees, flattened grass where the current pushed through, small fish stranded in pools that will soon evaporate and leave them to die. The first settlements were like this. Not cities, not even villages in the way you will understand villages later. Places where people decided to stay longer than the season required, where they built shelters meant to last more than one winter, where they stored food in pits dug into the ground, where they buried their dead in the same place year after year, generation after generation, until the ground itself became a kind of memory, a record of all the people who had lived and died in this spot beside this river. You feel the presence of those people as you walk, not as ghosts or spirits, something deeper, something in the soil itself. The way the ground feels different under your feet in certain places. Softer, older, more settled. This is where someone sat, day after day, year after year, grinding seeds between two stones until the stones wore smooth and the ground beneath them wore hollow. This is where someone slept, night after night, their body pressing the same shape into the earth until the shape remained even after they were gone. This is where someone died, and the people who loved them dug a hole and placed them in it and covered them with earth and piled stones on top to keep the animals away. Then they walked back to their shelters and continued living. Because that is what people do. They continue living even when the ones they love are gone. The river bends to the left. The bank rises into a low bluff overlooking the water. From here, you see the entire settlement spread out below you, shelters clustered together in a loose circle, the fire pit in the centre, storage pits dug into the ground near the edge of the camp, the places where the hides are stretched and the tools are made and the children play. It is not a large settlement, not by the standards that will come later, when thousands of people will live together in places like this, when walls will be built and streets laid out and markets established, and all the complex machinery of civilization will begin to turn. But it is larger than any settlement your parents knew, larger than any settlement your grandparents knew, larger than any settlement that existed before the ice retreated and the world warmed and the rivers became places where people could stay. 23 people live in this settlement. You have counted them many times, not because you need to count them, but because you like to know the number, to hold it in your mind, to feel the weight of it. 23 people means 23 mouths to feed, 23 bodies to keep warm, 23 minds to share the work and the decisions and the stories. 23 people means that when someone is sick, there are others to care for them. When someone dies, there are others to mourn them. When a child is born, there are others to welcome them, to teach them, to prepare them for the life they will live in this place beside this river. 23 people means that no one is alone, that everyone belongs, that the settlement is not just a collection of individuals, but something larger, something that exists beyond any single person, something that will continue even when the people who live in it today are gone and their children's children have taken their places. You walk back down from the bluff, following a path worn into the soil by so many feet that it is as smooth as the surface of a stone. The path leads to the shelters lead to the fire leads to the old woman, sitting in her usual place, her back against the largest shelter, her hands busy with something you cannot see from this distance. As you approach, she looks up and smiles. What she is holding is not a tool or a weapon or a piece of the shelter. A child. The newest member of the settlement, born only a few days ago, when the moon was full and the river was high and the air was warm with the promise of summer. The child's name is not yet decided. In the old days, when the camps moved with the seasons, names were given quickly, almost carelessly. Children died so often that it seemed pointless to spend too much time choosing a name for someone who might not live to see their first winter. But here, beside the river, where the food is more reliable and the shelters are stronger and the winters are less harsh, children live longer. More of them survive. Names matter more. The old woman has been thinking about this child's name for days, turning it over in her mind the way she turns a piece of flint in her hands, looking for the right shape, the right sound, the right meaning. She has not found it yet, but she will. The name will come to her when she is not looking for it, when she is grinding seeds or scraping a hide or watching the sun set over the river. It will come to her like a gift, like a memory, like something she has always known but only now has the words to say. You sit down beside her. She places the child in your arms. You feel the warmth of the small body through the soft hide that wraps it, the rapid beat of the child's heart against your chest, the fragile weight of a life that has only just begun. The child's eyes are closed, its face peaceful, its mouth slightly open, its breath soft and warm against your skin. You hold the child the way you have held other children, the way you were held when you were small, the way human beings have held their young for as long as there have been human beings. Something stirs in your chest. Not quite love, not quite fear, not quite hope. Something that contains all of those things and something more besides. Something that has no name in any language because it is older than language. Older than human beings. Older than the earth itself, perhaps, this feeling of holding a new life and knowing that you are part of something larger than yourself. Something that will continue long after you are gone. The settlements beside rivers and lakes and grasslands are spreading across the world. Not quickly, not the way a fire spreads or a flood spreads. Slowly, the way the roots of a tree spread. Reaching out inch by inch. Finding new ground. Sending up new shoots. Establishing themselves in places where no settlement has ever been before. Every year, somewhere in the world, a group of people decides to stop moving. They find a place where the fishing is good and the plants are plentiful and the water is clean and the ground is solid enough to build shelters that will last. They dig storage pits and plant seeds and build fences to keep the animals out of the places where the children play. They mark the boundaries of their territory with stones or with carved posts, or simply with the knowledge that this place is theirs now, that they belong to it, and it belongs to them, that they will defend it if they have to, that they will die for it if they must. Not everyone makes this choice. There are still people who move with the seasons, who follow the herds across the plains, who sleep in a different place every night and carry everything they own on their backs. You see them sometimes passing through the valley on their way to somewhere else. Their faces lean and weathered, their eyes always searching the horizon for the next place, the next river, the next hunt. They look at your settlement with something that might be curiosity, or might be pity, or might be nothing at all, just the way people look at things they do not understand. You look at them the same way, wondering how they can live without the security of a permanent home, without the storage pits full of food, without the shelters that keep out the rain and the wind and the cold. You are different, you and the people who live beside the river. You have chosen something else, something new, something that will change the world in ways you cannot imagine. The afternoon passes slowly, the way all afternoons pass in the settlement. Work and rest and work again. The rhythm of the river, the movement of the sun, the soft sounds of people living their lives. You help repair a fish trap that broke during the night. Your hands weave the willow branches together in a pattern that you learned when you were young, a pattern that has been used by the people of this river for as long as anyone can remember. You help carry water from the river to the settlement, your shoulders aching under the weight of the containers, your feet slipping on the muddy path. You help grind seeds and scrape hides and tend the fire and watch the children, all the 1,000 small tasks that keep a settlement alive. And through it all, you think about the child, the name that has not yet been chosen, the life that is just beginning beside this river. The child will grow up in this settlement, will learn to fish and to gather and to make tools and to tell stories. Will know the river the way you know the river, the way the old woman knows the river, the way the ancestors knew the river when they first came to this place and decided to stay. The child will watch the seasons turn, will see the spring floods and the summer heat and the autumn colours and the winter cold, will learn the patterns of the plants and the animals and the stars. The child will grow old, perhaps, will become one of the elders of the settlement, will sit by the fire and tell stories to the children who are not yet born, will remember the way things were when they were young, will watch as the world changes around them, will adapt and survive and continue. The way human beings have always adapted and survived and continued. The sun sets. The fire is lit. The people gather around it. Someone tells a story about the first people who came to this river, the ones who built the first shelters, who dug the first storage pits, who decided that this was the place where they would stop moving and start living. The story is old, older than the oldest person in the settlement, older than the oldest stories that anyone can remember. It has changed over time, the way all stories change, gaining new details and losing others, shifting to fit the needs of the people who tell it and the people who hear it. But the core of the story remains the same. The moment of decision, the choice to stay, the commitment to this place and to each other and to the life that is possible only when people stop running and start building. You listen to the story. Feel the warmth of the fire on your face. Smell the smoke and the river and the damp earth. Hear the voices of the people around you, low and steady. Think about the child, asleep in its mother's arms, dreaming dreams that have no words, feeling the world for the first time, beginning a life that will be different from your life. Different from the lives of your parents, different from the lives of anyone who has ever lived before. The settlements beside rivers and lakes and grasslands are the beginning of something. The first step on a long road that will lead to cities and kingdoms and empires, to writing and mathematics and all the things that people will one day call civilization. But you do not know that. You only know the river. The settlement, the people around you, the child in its mother's arms. That is enough. That has always been enough. That will always be enough, for as long as there are people who know how to live beside a river and be content. You are kneeling in the soft earth at the edge of the settlement, your hands buried in the soil up to your wrists. The cool dampness seeps into your skin like a slow memory. The sun is warm on your back. The air smells of turned earth and crushed grass, and something else, something green and growing that has become more familiar with each passing season. In front of you, arranged in careful rows, are the plants that you placed here many days ago. The seeds that you pushed into the ground with your own fingers, the small green shoots that have emerged from the darkness of the soil and turned their faces toward the light. This is new. This is not the way your mother gathered food, walking through the meadows and the woodlands, collecting the seeds and roots and fruits that grew wild, taking what the land offered without asking for anything in return. This is different. This is asking. This is planting a seed in the ground and waiting for it to grow, not because the land has decided to provide, but because you have decided to make the land provide. The quiet birth of agriculture, the slow, almost accidental discovery that human beings can help plants to grow, can encourage them, can make them more abundant than they would be on their own. No one knows who first planted a seed. Perhaps it was a woman like you, kneeling in the dirt, noticing that the plants growing near the camp were larger and more plentiful than the plants growing far away. Noticing that the seeds she dropped near her shelter had sprouted in the spring. Noticing that the places where she threw the waste from her meals were the places where the best plants grew. Perhaps it was a child, playing in the mud, pushing seeds into the ground for no reason except the pleasure of pushing things into mud. Returning weeks later to find that something had grown from those seeds. Something that was not there before. Perhaps it was an accident. A seed that fell from a gathering basket and took root in a pile of discarded shells and bones. Someone noticed, someone thought, someone began to experiment. However it began, it has changed everything, not quickly. Not the way a flood changes the landscape or a fire changes the forest. Slowly, the way the river changes the shape of the valley. Carving new channels over thousands of years, wearing down the high places and filling in the low places. Creating something new out of something old. The plants you have planted are not yet fully domesticated, not in the way that wheat and barley and rice will be domesticated thousands of years from now, when human beings have bred them to be larger and more productive and easier to harvest. These are still wild plants. Or almost wild. The same plants that grow in the meadows and along the riverbanks, the plants that your ancestors have gathered for as long as anyone can remember. But they are growing here, in this place that you have prepared for them, in this soil that you have turned and cleared and protected from the animals that would eat them. They are growing because you helped them to grow. That is a kind of miracle. A quiet miracle, a miracle that happens every day in settlements like this one, all across the world. The old woman is kneeling beside you, her hands also buried in the soil. Her fingers gently pull small weeds from around the base of the young plants. She is older than anyone in the settlement, older than anyone you have ever known. She has seen more changes than anyone can remember. She remembers when the people of this river first began to plant seeds. Not many years ago, just a few. A handful of seasons when someone tried something new and it worked, and everyone else began to try it too. She remembers the first harvest. The first time that the food they gathered came not from the wild meadows, but from this patch of earth that they had prepared with their own hands. She remembers the feeling of holding the seeds in her palm, the seeds that had grown from the seeds they had planted the year before. The cycle beginning to turn. The possibility of abundance stretching out into the future like a path leading somewhere she had never imagined. You work in silence. Your hands move automatically through the familiar motions. Your mind drifts somewhere else, somewhere quiet. Somewhere the thoughts are soft and slow and without sharp edges. The soil is full of small creatures, worms and insects and other things that have no names. You feel them moving against your fingers, tunneling through the earth, living their small lives beneath the surface. The smell of the soil is deep and dark and rich, the smell of things that have died and rotted and become something new. The smell of life and death and life again. The endless cycle that turns beneath your feet with every season that passes. The plants you are tending are not the only ones that feed the settlement. Most of your food still comes from the river and the forest and the plain, from the fish and the deer and the wild plants that grow without any help from human hands. But the planted plants are becoming more important each year, providing food that is close to the settlement. Food that does not require a long walk or a dangerous hunt. Food that can be stored through the winter and eaten when the snow is deep and the river is frozen and the animals are scarce. The storage pits are fuller now than they were in your mother's time. The people are healthier. The children are more likely to survive. The settlement is growing, slowly, year by year, as more people choose to stay beside this river and live this new way of life. Seasonal living. That is what they will call it thousands of years from now, when archaeologists dig up the remains of settlements like this one and try to understand how people lived before the first cities were built. But you do not call it anything. It is simply life. The rhythm of the year. The pattern of tasks that repeats itself with each passing season, never exactly the same, but always recognizable, like the face of someone you have known your whole life. Spring is the time of planting, when the ground thaws and the rains come and the seeds go into the soil. Spring is also the time of the fish run, when the river is full of swimming creatures migrating upstream to spawn. The people stand in the shallows with nets and spears and baskets, catching more fish in a single day than they can eat in a week. Drying the rest on wooden racks, storing it for the lean months ahead. Spring is the time when the first greens appear. The tender shoots and leaves that taste of the sun and the rain and the newness of the world waking from its winter sleep. Summer is the time of watching and waiting, of pulling weeds and chasing away birds and building fences to keep the animals out of the planted fields. Summer is also the time of the berries, the wild fruits that ripen in the meadows and along the forest edges, sweet and juicy and full of colour, eaten fresh by the handful or dried into small leathery sheets that can be stored for months. Summer is the time when the days are long and the nights are short and the heat lies over the valley like a blanket, heavy and still, making even the smallest task feel like a great effort. Autumn is the time of harvest, when the planted plants have grown tall and the seeds have ripened and the work of many months is finally ready to be gathered. Autumn is also the time of the hunt, when the animals are fat from the summer grazing and the herds are moving south toward their winter grounds. The hunters follow them across the plain, returning after many days with meat and hides and bones that will be used for everything from tools to needles to the frames of shelters. Autumn is the time when the days grow shorter and the nights grow longer and the first frost turns the grass white in the morning. A reminder that winter is coming, that the time of plenty will soon end, that the time of storage and waiting is almost here. Winter is the time of staying close, of sitting by the fire and telling stories and making tools and repairing the things that broke during the rest of the year. Winter is the time when the river freezes and the snow covers the ground and the world becomes smaller, reduced to the space between the shelters, the distance from the fire to the storage pits, the warmth of the bodies pressed together against the cold. Winter is the time when the food that was gathered and hunted and planted and stored is eaten slowly, carefully, each meal measured against the number of days remaining until the spring. Winter is the time when the days are short and the nights are long and the stars are sharp and bright in the cold, clear sky. The people dream of the warmth to come, of the spring and the planting and the fish run and the berries, of all the other things that make life possible in this place beside this river. You have lived through many winters. You will live through many more, if you are lucky, if the food holds out, if the sickness does not come, if the river does not flood the settlement, or the animals do not eat the stored grain. Any of the other 1,000 things that can go wrong in a world where nothing is guaranteed and everything must be earned with work and patience and luck. The old woman has lived through more winters than anyone. Her face is a map of those winters, lined and weathered and full of the deep grooves that come from decades of cold and wind and the slow accumulation of years. She does not talk about the winters much, not the way she talks about the springs and the summers and the autumns. Winter is for enduring, not for talking. Winter is for surviving, not for remembering. But you see the winters in her eyes sometimes. The long dark nights. the howling wind, the fear that the food will run out before the snow melts, the relief when the first green shoots appear in the meadow and everyone knows that they have made it through another one, that they are still alive, that the world has not ended, that there will be another spring and another summer and another autumn and another winter after that. The sun moves across the sky. You continue your work, your hands moving through the soil, your knees aching from the pressure of the ground, your back sore from bending over for so long. The old woman works beside you, slower than you, but steadier. Her movements economical and efficient, wasting nothing. Not a gesture, not a breath, not a moment of the fading daylight. You have learnt so much from her, not through words, but through watching, through sitting beside her while she works, through letting her hands teach your hands what they need to know. She does not explain why she does things the way she does them. She simply does them. You watch. Eventually you learn, then you do them yourself. Then someone else watches you. The knowledge passes from one body to another, from one generation to the next, without ever being written down or spoken aloud or turned into the kind of lesson that can be taught to anyone who was not there to see it happen. The quiet birth of agriculture is happening all around you, not just in this settlement, but in settlements across the world, in valleys and along rivers and on the edges of lakes. Wherever people have learned that seeds placed in the ground will grow into plants that can be eaten. It is happening in different ways in different places, with different plants and different techniques and different rhythms. But the pattern is the same everywhere. People are learning to care for the land, to nurture it, to protect it, to help it produce the food that they need to survive. The land is responding. Slowly, reluctantly, perhaps, but responding. Becoming more abundant, more productive, more reliable than it was before. You stand up slowly. Your joints protest after so long on your knees. You stretch your arms above your head, feeling the pull in your shoulders and your back. The sun is lower now, the shadows longer, the light softer and more golden than it was when you began. The old woman stands up too, more slowly than you. She puts one hand on the ground to steady herself. You reach out to help her. She takes your hand, her grip surprisingly strong for someone so old. She pulls herself upright with a sigh that might be relief, or might be resignation, or might be something else entirely. Something that has no name, because it belongs only to the very old. To the ones who have seen so many sunsets that they no longer try to count them. You walk together back to the settlement, following the path worn into the earth by 10,000 footsteps. By the people who lived here before you, and the people who will live here after you are gone. The path is narrow and winding, following the contours of the land, avoiding the wet places and the steep places, and the places where the roots of the old trees push up through the soil. You know this path the way you know the lines on your own palm. Every turn, every dip, every place where the ground is soft, and you must step carefully to avoid sinking into the mud. The old woman knows it too. Knows it better than you, perhaps, knows it the way the river knows its own channel, the way the birds know their migration routes, the way the stars know their paths across the sky. The settlement is quiet when you return. Most of the people still working in other parts of the valley or resting in the shelters, escaping the heat of the afternoon. The fire is low, just a few coals glowing beneath a layer of ash. The air around the fire pit is hazy with smoke rising from the embers, drifting slowly upward until it disappears into the brightness of the sky. You sit down on the ground near the fire. The old woman sits down beside you. For a long time, neither of you speaks, only sits and watches the smoke and listens to the distant sounds of the valley. The river, the birds, the wind moving through the grass. This is the rhythm of seasonal living, not the rhythm of the clock or the calendar or the schedule, the rhythm of the earth itself, the turning of the seasons, the movement of the sun, the growth of the plants, the migration of the animals, the endless cycle of birth and birth again that has been turning for millions of years and will continue to turn for millions more. Long after these settlements have crumbled and these fields have returned to meadow and the people who lived here have been forgotten by everyone except the ancestors who watch from the stars. The quiet birth of agriculture is not a single event, not a moment in time that can be pointed to and named and celebrated. It is a process. A slow unfolding, a gradual shift in the way human beings relate to the world around them. It is happening now. In this settlement, in this valley, on this afternoon, as you sit beside the fire and watch the smoke rise toward the sky. It will continue to happen for thousands of years, as people experiment with new plants and new techniques and new ways of living with the land. It will change everything, slowly, the way water changes stone, the way wind changes mountains, the way time changes everything it touches. But for now, it is simply this: a woman kneeling in the soil, her hands buried in the earth, her fingers touching the small green shoots that will become food for her people. The quiet miracle of a seed becoming a plant, of a plant becoming a meal, of a meal becoming the energy that keeps a settlement alive through another winter, through another spring, through another turning of the great wheel of the seasons. The sun sets, the fire is rebuilt, the people gather around it. Someone passes around a bowl of roasted seeds, the seeds that grew in the planted field, the seeds that you helped to tend and harvest and prepare. You take a handful, feeling the warmth of them in your palm. The slight roughness of their surface, the smell of smoke and earth, and the deep satisfaction of food that you helped to create. Not just to gather, not just to hunt, to bring into being from the soil itself. You eat them slowly, one by one, tasting the subtle sweetness, the slight crunch, the way they fill your mouth with the flavour of the land that produced them. The old woman eats beside you, her eyes closed, her lips moving slightly as she chews. You wonder what she is thinking, what memories this taste brings back to her, what seasons and harvests and plantings she is remembering as the darkness settles over the valley and the stars begin to appear in the sky. The night is long, the stars are patient. The fire burns. The people talk softly. The child that was born a few days ago sleeps in its mother's arms, dreaming of nothing, knowing nothing, beginning the long journey that will take it through a lifetime of springs and summers and autumns and winters. Through plantings and harvests and fish runs and hunts, through all the rhythms that have sustained human beings since the first seed was placed in the ground and the quiet birth of agriculture began to change the world forever. The sun has not yet risen, but the sky above the eastern hills is pale with the approach of dawn. The birds have begun their slow awakening, one voice at a time, building toward the chorus that will fill the valley when the first light touches the treetops. You are sitting alone at the edge of the settlement, wrapped in a hide against the cool of the early morning, watching the darkness fade and the shapes of the world slowly emerge from the night. The river is a darker line against the grey of the meadow. The trees are darker shapes against the grey of the sky. The shelters behind you are dark humps against the grey of the earth. Everything is grey for now, soft and muted and waiting for the sun to bring back the colours of the day. You are thinking about the people who lived here before. Not your parents or your grandparents or even your great-grandparents, the people who lived in this valley before anyone in your settlement was born, before the oldest stories begin, before memory itself. You know they were here because you have found their things, the things they left behind, the things that the earth has held onto for all these years. A stone axe, buried in the mud of the riverbank, its surface smooth and green with age, the marks of its making still visible if you hold it to the light. A piece of pottery, broken and worn, the only fragment of a vessel that must have been beautiful once, decorated with patterns that you do not recognize, patterns that no one in your settlement uses. A burial, found by accident when someone was digging a storage pit, the bones of a person who died so long ago that the bones themselves were falling apart, crumbling to dust when the air touched them. These were not your people. They were different somehow, though you cannot say exactly how. The things they made were different. The way they lived was different. The way they thought about the world was different. They had their own stories, their own songs, their own ways of doing the thousand small things that make up a human life. And now, they are gone, vanished, leaving behind only these broken fragments, these traces in the soil, these hints of a culture that existed for thousands of years and then disappeared as completely as the morning mist disappearing from the surface of the river when the sun climbs high enough to burn it away. The forgotten proto-cultures. That is what the people of the future will call them. The ones who dig through the layers of earth and try to piece together the story of human beings before writing, before cities, before everything that historians call civilization. But you do not have a name for them. You only have the things they left behind. The silence where their voices used to be. The sense that you are walking on ground that was once someone else's home, someone else's settlement, someone else's valley. The sun rises, finally, the first edge of gold appearing above the hills. Light pours across the valley like water, filling every hollow, touching every surface, turning the grey world into a world of colours. The river turns silver, then gold, then the deep blue of the sky reflected in its surface. The trees turn green, then darker green, then the particular shade of green that belongs only to the oaks that grow along the riverbank. The shelters turn brown and grey and the colour of old wood, the colour of hides that have been stretched and scraped and sewn together by hands that have since turned to dust. You stand up, stretching your arms toward the rising sun, feeling the warmth on your face, the coolness of the ground fading from your feet. Behind you, the settlement is waking, people emerging from the shelters, the fire being rebuilt, the sounds of another day beginning. But you do not turn around yet. You stand at the edge of the valley, looking out across the meadow, and you think about all the people who have stood in this same place, at this same hour, watching the same sun rise over the same hills. How many? Hundreds? Thousands? More than you can imagine. More than the number of stars you can see on the clearest night. More than the number of grains of sand on the longest beach. All of them are gone now. Every one of them. Their names forgotten, their faces unknown, their stories told for a few generations and then lost, like a song that no one remembers how to sing. The forgotten proto-cultures are not one culture, but many as there were valleys and rivers and coastlines where human beings gathered together and built their lives. Each one was different, shaped by the particular conditions of its place, by the plants that grew there, and the animals that lived there, and the stones that could be found there, and the climate that changed with the seasons and the years and the centuries. Each one had its own way of making tools, its own style of pottery, its own patterns of settlement, its own beliefs about the world and the spirits that move through it, and the proper way to bury the dead, and the proper way to celebrate the birth of a child. Each one had its own language, or so you assume, though the languages are as lost as everything else, leaving behind no trace, except perhaps a few words that were borrowed by the people who came after, a few sounds that echoed through the centuries, before finally fading into silence. You walk back into the settlement. The old woman is sitting by the fire, as she always is at this hour. Her hands wrapped around a clay cup filled with something warm. Her eyes watching the flames with an expression that might be contentment, or might be sadness, or might be nothing more than the neutral gaze of someone who has seen so much that nothing surprises her anymore. You sit down beside her. She hands you a cup. You drink. The liquid is warm and bitter and familiar. The same drink you have had every morning for as long as you can remember. Made from the seeds of a plant that grows along the riverbank, roasted and ground and mixed with hot water. You tell her about your thoughts, the people who lived here before, the things they left behind, the feeling of walking on ground that was once someone else's home. She listens without speaking, her eyes still on the fire, her hands still wrapped around her cup. When you finish, she is silent for a long time. You think perhaps she has not heard you, or perhaps she has nothing to say, or perhaps she is waiting for something, some sign or signal that will tell her what to say next. Then she begins to speak. Slowly, her voice low and rough with age, the words coming out one at a time, like stones being placed in a row. She tells you about a place she visited when she was young, a place far to the north, a day's walk from the river where her people lived at that time. It was a valley, like this one, but different, narrower, with steeper sides and a smaller river and trees that were different from the trees that grow here. In that valley, there was a wall, a long wall made of stones, stretching across the floor of the valley from one side to the other. Too high to climb and too long to walk around. The wall had been there for as long as anyone could remember, so long that the stones were covered in moss and the spaces between them were filled with the roots of plants. The whole thing looked less like something people had built and more like something the earth had grown, like a ridge of rock or a line of low hills. No one knew who built the wall. No one knew why. The stories said that it had been there since before the ice, since before the great beasts, since before the first people came to that valley and found it waiting for them. The stories said that the wall was built by people who were not quite human, or people who were more than human, or people who had come from somewhere else and then gone back there, leaving the wall behind as the only proof that they had ever existed. The old woman did not believe the stories, not exactly. But she did not disbelieve them either. She only knew that the wall was there, that it was old, older than anything she had ever seen. When she stood beside it and placed her hand on the cold, moss-covered stones, she felt something that she had never felt before and has never felt since, a sense of connection to something vast and distant and unknowable. Something that had nothing to do with the people she knew, or the life she lived, or the world she walked through every day. She tells you this story. You listen. The fire crackles. The sun climbs higher. The settlement fills with the sounds of another day beginning. You try to imagine the wall, the long line of stones stretching across the valley, the hands that placed them there one by one, the minds that planned the wall and the bodies that built it, and the lives that were lived in its shadow before it was abandoned and forgotten and left to the moss and the roots and the slow wearing down of time. The forgotten proto-cultures left behind many things like that wall, not just tools and pottery and the bones of the dead. Structures, earthworks, monuments, things that were too large to carry away and too permanent to disappear completely. Even after thousands of years of wind and rain, and the slow creep of soil, and the roots of trees pushing through the stones, some of these structures are still standing, somewhere in the world, though you will never see them, never know they exist. Stone circles, aligned with the rising and setting of the sun at particular times of the year. Long barrows, mounds of earth covering the graves of people who died so long ago that their bones have dissolved into the soil. Causewayed enclosures, ditches and banks that form patterns visible only from above. patterns that no one on the ground could ever see, patterns that must have had some meaning for the people who built them, though that meaning is lost now, as lost as the language they spoke and the names they called themselves. You will never know what these structures were for. No one will ever know. Not truly. Not the way you know why you build a shelter, or dig a storage pit, or plant a seed in the ground. The people who built them left no written records, no explanations, no instructions for the future to read and understand. They left only the structures themselves, silent and enigmatic. And the knowledge that they must have had a reason, must have believed that what they were doing was important, must have been willing to invest enormous amounts of time and effort and human labour into projects that would not be finished in their own lifetimes, projects that their children and their children's children would continue, generation after generation, until the structures were complete and the purpose for which they were built had been fulfilled or forgotten or transformed into something else entirely. You think about the wall that the old woman described, the long line of stones in the narrow valley to the north. You try to imagine the people who built it, what they looked like, what they wore, what they ate, what they believed. You try to imagine their voices, the sounds of their language, the songs they sang, the stories they told. You try to imagine their faces, the faces of people who have been dead for so long that their bodies have turned to soil and their bones have crumbled to dust, and every trace of their existence has been erased except for that wall, that line of stones, that question mark carved into the landscape by hands that no longer exist. The old woman finishes her story. The two of you sit in silence, watching the fire, listening to the sounds of the settlement waking around you. The child that was born a few days ago is crying somewhere, its voice thin and insistent, demanding attention, demanding food, demanding the warmth of its mother's body. A man is sharpening a stone tool somewhere nearby, the sound of stone against stone rhythmic and low, like a heartbeat slowed down to half its normal speed. The river flows past, as it has always flowed, as it will always flow, carrying water down from the mountains to the sea, carrying silt and seeds and the bodies of dead fish and the leaves that fall from the trees in autumn, carrying everything, eventually, to someplace else, to the ocean, to the deep, to the place where all rivers end and all journeys finish and all the things that have been carried along by the current are finally released. The forgotten proto-cultures are not completely forgotten. They live on in ways that you cannot see, in ways that the people of the future will not see either, even with all their tools and their knowledge and their determination to understand the past. They live on in the genes of the people who came after them, in the blood that flows through your veins and the veins of the child sleeping in its mother's arms. They live on in the words you speak, the sounds that come out of your mouth, the grammar that shapes your thoughts before you even know what you are going to say. They live on in the stories that are told around the fire, the stories that have been passed down for so many generations that no one remembers where they came from, or who first told them, or whether they are true in the way that history is true, or true only in the way that dreams are true. Real while you are inside them and dissolving as soon as you wake. They live on in the shape of your hands, the way your fingers bend and your palms curve, and your thumbs oppose the other fingers in a way that is unique to human beings. That makes it possible to hold a stone tool or a clay cup or the hand of someone you love. They live on in the way you walk, the upright posture, the swinging arms, the stride that carries you across the ground at a speed that is neither too fast nor too slow. A speed that allows you to cover great distances without exhausting yourself. A speed that your ancestors perfected over millions of years of walking across the savannas and the plains and the valleys of this ancient world. They live on in the way you sleep. Curled on your side, your knees drawn up toward your chest, your arms wrapped around yourself or around someone else. your breathing slow and regular, your dreams carrying you through the darkness of the night toward the light of another dawn. They live this way too, the forgotten ones, the people who built the wall and made the pottery and buried their dead with offerings of food and tools and flowers. They slept the way you sleep, dreamed the way you dream, woke the way you wake, faced each new day with the same mixture of hope and fear and resignation and determination that you feel every morning when the sun rises and the world begins again. The sun is fully above the hills now. The valley is bright with light. The colours of the world are sharp and clear. The river is blue. The grass is green. The trees are dark against the sky. The shelters are warm and golden in the morning light. The child has stopped crying, soothed by its mother's voice and the warmth of her body, and the milk that fills its stomach and eases its hunger. The man has finished sharpening his tool. He tests the edge against his thumb, drawing a thin line of blood that he licks away absently, satisfied that the blade is sharp enough for whatever work lies ahead of him today. You stand up slowly, feeling the stiffness in your legs from sitting too long in one position. You walk to the edge of the settlement, to the place where the path leads down to the river. The water is high today, higher than it was yesterday, higher than it was last week. The snow is melting in the mountains, and the meltwater is pouring down the tributaries, filling the main channel until it overflows its banks in places. You stand at the edge of the river, looking down into the clear water, watching the fish move beneath the surface, their bodies silver and grey, their fins flickering as they turn and turn again. The forgotten proto-cultures are like those fish, you think. You can see them sometimes when the light is right and the water is clear and your eyes are adjusted to the brightness. You can see the shapes of them, the outlines of their lives, the traces they left behind in the soil and the stones and the stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. But you cannot touch them. You cannot hear their voices, or see their faces, or know their names. They are there, beneath the surface, moving through the darkness of the past. You can watch them for a moment, catch a glimpse of something that might be a face, or might be a trick of the light, might be a memory, or might be a wish, might be the truth, or might be the story that you tell yourself, because the truth is too far away to see. You kneel down at the edge of the river and dip your hand into the water. It is cold, colder than the air, cold enough to make your fingers ache. You leave your hand there for a long time, feeling the current push against your palm, feeling the water flow around your fingers, feeling the connection between your body and the river that has been flowing through this valley for thousands of years. Through the time of the forgotten proto-cultures, and the time of your grandparents, and the time of your own life, and the time of your children's children. Who will stand on this same bank, perhaps, and dip their hands into this same water, and wonder about the people who stood here before them, the people whose names are lost, whose faces are unknown, whose stories are told only by the wind and the river and the slow turning of the seasons. You pull your hand out of the water, shake off the drops, stand up. Turn back toward the settlement. The old woman is still sitting by the fire, still watching the flames, still wrapped in her hide against the cool of the morning. She looks up as you approach. For a moment, her eyes meet yours. You see something in them that you have never seen before, or perhaps you have seen it many times and only now have the words to name it. The weight of the years she has lived, the weight of all the people she has known who are now dead, the weight of all the places she has been that no longer exist, the weight of all the things she has forgotten and all the things she remembers and all the things she will never tell anyone. Because some things are too heavy to share, too heavy to speak, too heavy even to think about, except in the darkest part of the night, when the fire has burned low and everyone else is asleep, and the only sounds are the wind and the river and the slow beating of her own heart. She smiles. A small smile. The kind of smile that does not change her face much, but changes everything about how you see her. She pats the ground beside her. You sit down again. The two of you sit together in the morning light, watching the fire burn, watching the smoke rise, watching the world turn slowly beneath the ancient sky. The forgotten proto-cultures are gone. But they are not dead. They are in the soil, in the stones, in the water of the river, in the air you breathe, in the blood that flows through your veins, in the stories that are told around the fire, in the dreams that come to you in the darkness of the night, in the shape of your hands and the sound of your voice, and the way you love the people who sit beside you in the morning light. They are part of you, as you will be part of the people who come after you, as all human beings are part of each other, connected across the centuries by the invisible threads of memory and blood, and the simple fact of being alive on this ancient earth, beneath this patient sky, beside this flowing river that carries everything away and leaves nothing behind except the traces, the fragments, the hints and whispers of all the lives that have been lived in this place since the beginning of time. The world is changing faster now. Not fast the way a river changes when a flood comes. Not fast the way a fire changes a forest. Faster than it has changed before. Faster than the old woman can remember. Faster than the stories can keep up with. You feel it in the air, in the way the seasons shift, in the way new plants appear in the meadow and old plants disappear, in the way the animals move through the valley, different patterns than the patterns your parents knew, different routes, different timings, different behaviours that you have to learn and relearn each year. You are standing on the low ridge overlooking the settlement, the same ridge where you have stood 1,000 times before. But today something feels different. Perhaps it is the light, the way the afternoon sun catches the roofs of the shelters, the way the smoke rises from the fire in thin straight columns that drift slowly toward the eastern hills. Perhaps it is the sounds, the voices of the people below, the laughter of the children, the rhythmic pounding of someone grinding seeds against a stone. Perhaps it is nothing at all, only the way you are feeling today, the way your mind is turning towards something that you cannot name, something that is not quite a thought, and not quite a feeling, and not quite a memory, something that hovers at the edge of your awareness, like a bird circling a distant tree, waiting for you to notice it. The threshold of civilization. That is what the people of the future will call this moment. This time. This place where you are standing. They will look back at the centuries and millennia that came before and call them prehistory, the time before writing, the time before cities, the time before everything that they consider the beginning of real human history. They will look at this moment, this turning point, this edge between one way of living and another, and they will call it the threshold, the doorway, the place where everything changed. But you do not know that. You only know that something is different, that the old ways are not working the way they used to, that the world is asking something new of you, and you are not sure what it is or how to give it. The settlement below you is larger than it was when you were young. More shelters, more people, more storage pits, more of everything. The planted fields have expanded, spreading out from the edge of the settlement into the meadow, claiming more and more of the land that used to be open grassland. The fences have grown too, keeping the animals away from the crops, marking the boundaries between the land that belongs to your people and the land that belongs to no one, or to everyone, or to the spirits who have lived here since before human beings learned to plant seeds and build shelters that lasted more than one season. There are more people than there used to be. The people are living longer. The children are surviving in greater numbers. The settlement is becoming crowded in a way that it never was before. You remember when you could walk from one end of the settlement to the other without passing anyone. When the spaces between the shelters were wide and open and filled with grass and wildflowers. Now the shelters are close together, almost touching in some places. The paths between them are worn smooth by so many feet that no grass can grow there. Only hard-packed earth that turns to mud when it rains and to dust when the sun is hot. The people are different too, not in their bodies, not in the way they look or the way they move, in the way they think, the way they act, the way they treat each other. There is more fighting now than there used to be. More arguments over who owns which storage pit and who has the right to fish in which part of the river, and who should be the one to decide when the planting should begin and the harvest should end. There are leaders now, or something like leaders. People who speak louder than others. People whose opinions carry more weight. People who have more food stored in their pits and more tools hanging in their shelters, and more people who listen to them when they speak. You do not remember this from when you were young. You remember decisions being made together. Everyone speaking, and everyone listening, and everyone agreeing, or at least everyone accepting, because there was no other choice. Because the group could not survive if it was divided. Because the world was too hard, and the winters too long, and the food too scarce for anyone to waste energy on fighting over things that did not matter. But the world is not as hard now. The winters are milder. The food is more reliable. The storage pits are fuller. The people have time for things they did not have time for before. Time to argue. Time to compete. Time to compare how much they have with how much their neighbours have. Time to want more than they need. To take more than they can use. To hold on to things that they will never need and never use, simply because having them feels good. Feels safe. Feels like protection against a future that is uncertain even when the storage pits are full and the planted fields are green and the river is teeming with fish. You walk down from the ridge, following the path worn into the earth by 10,000 footsteps. You enter the settlement. The sounds are louder here, the voices sharper, the laughter sometimes harsh, the arguments sometimes bitter. A group of children runs past you, chasing a dog that has stolen something from one of the shelters. You step aside to let them pass, feeling the wind of their movement against your face. The dog barks, the children shout, someone laughs. Then they are gone, around a corner, between two shelters, their voices fading into the general noise of the settlement. You find the old woman in her usual place. But she is not alone. A stranger sits beside her. A man you have never seen before, dressed in hides that are different from the hides your people wear. Sewn in a different style, decorated with beads and shells that come from somewhere far away, somewhere you have never been. He is talking to the old woman, his voice low and urgent. She is listening, her face expressionless, her eyes fixed on his face with an intensity that makes you stop and wait at the edge of the fire circle. Not wanting to interrupt, not wanting to intrude, not wanting to hear something that is not meant for your ears. The stranger is a traveller, one of the people who still move with the seasons, who follow the herds across the plains, who sleep in a different place every night and carry everything they own on their backs. He has come from the east, from beyond the mountains, from a place where the rivers are wider and the valleys are broader and the people are more numerous than anything you have ever imagined. He has seen things, he tells the old woman, things that she will not believe, things that will change everything, things that are coming this way, toward this valley, toward this settlement, toward the world that you have known your entire life. He tells her about a place he visited many days' walk from here, a place where the people have built a wall around their settlement, a wall of stone and earth and wood, so high that no one can climb it, so thick that no one can break it down. The wall is not for keeping animals out, he says, not for keeping the river from flooding, not for any of the other reasons that people have built walls before. The wall is for keeping other people out. The people behind the wall have enemies, people who want to take their food and their tools and their shelters and their children. The wall is the only thing that keeps the enemies away, the only thing that protects the people from the violence spreading across the world like a fire across a dry plain. He tells her about another place, even farther to the east, a place where the people have stopped moving entirely, where they live in the same settlement all year long, where they never leave, where the planted fields stretch as far as the eye can see and the storage pits are so deep that they reach down to the bedrock. These people have more food than they can eat, more than they can store, more than they can ever use. They trade the extra food for things that other people have made, tools and ornaments and materials that cannot be found in their own valley. They have become rich, these people, richer than anyone has ever been. Their richness has made them powerful. Their power has made them afraid. Their fear has made them build walls and dig ditches and make weapons that are meant not for hunting animals, but for killing other human beings. The old woman listens. You listen. The fire crackles. The sun moves across the sky. The shadows lengthen. The world seems to grow darker somehow, even though the light is still bright, and the air is still warm, and the birds are still singing in the trees along the riverbank. The stranger finishes his story. The old woman is silent for a long time. Then, she asks him a question, her voice so low that you can barely hear it. She asks him what happened to the people who built the wall, the people who stopped moving, the people who became rich and powerful and afraid. She asks him if they are still there, if their wall still stands, if their children still live in the shadow of the stones that were meant to protect them from the world. The stranger looks at the ground. Then he looks at the fire. Then he looks at the old woman. He tells her that he does not know. He left that place many seasons ago. He has not been back. The people were still there when he left. The wall was still standing. The fields were still green. The storage pits were still full. But something was wrong, he says. Something he could not name. Something he could not describe. Something he felt in the air and saw in the eyes of the people, and heard in the way they spoke to each other. The richness had not made them happy. The power had not made them safe. The fear had not gone away. It had only grown, only deepened, only spread through the settlement like a sickness, infecting everyone it touched, making them suspicious and angry and cruel. Even to the people they loved, even to the people they had lived beside their entire lives. The old woman nods, as if she expected this answer, as if she already knew it, as if the stranger is only telling her something that she has known for a long time, something that she has felt in her own bones, something that she has seen in the faces of the people in this settlement, in the arguments and the fights, and the way that people look at each other now, compared to the way they looked at each other when she was young. The threshold of civilization is not a doorway into a better world. She thinks this. Or you think this. Or perhaps both of you think it, at the same time, in the same way, because you have lived together for so long that your thoughts have begun to blend together, to overlap, to become something that belongs to both of you and neither of you, something that exists only in the space between you, in the silence that follows the stranger's words, in the smoke that rises from the fire and disappears into the darkening sky. The stranger stays for the night, eating with the people of the settlement, sleeping by the fire, his body curled on the hard ground in the same way that your body is curled, his breathing slow and regular, his dreams carrying him somewhere else, somewhere far away, somewhere that you cannot follow. In the morning, he is gone, disappeared before the sun rose, leaving behind only the memory of his stories and the smell of his body and the faint impression of his sleeping place in the soft earth near the fire. You stand at the edge of the settlement, looking out across the valley, trying to see what he saw, trying to understand what he understood, trying to feel the changes that he felt, the changes that are coming, the changes that will turn this world into something new, something different, something that you cannot imagine and would not want to imagine even if you could. The river is still flowing, the grass is still green, the sky is still blue, the birds are still singing, but something is different. Something has shifted. Something has been set in motion that cannot be stopped, cannot be reversed, cannot be undone by wishing or hoping or pretending that everything is the same as it has always been. The threshold of civilization is not a line that you cross in a single moment, not a door that you open and step through, not a decision that you make once and then live with forever. It is a process, a slow transformation, a gradual accumulation of small changes that add up over time to something enormous, something that no one planned and no one intended and no one could have predicted. Something that emerges from the choices that millions of people make every day, every season, every generation. Choices about where to live and what to eat and how to organize their societies and what to believe about the world and their place in it. You are standing at that threshold now. All of you. Everyone in this settlement. Everyone in every settlement like it, scattered across the world. Living through the same changes, feeling the same shifts, wondering what comes next, wondering if the old ways can survive, wondering if the new ways will bring the abundance and security and peace that they seem to promise, or if they will bring something else, something darker, something that the old woman saw in the eyes of the stranger, and the stranger saw in the eyes of the rich people in the settlement with the wall. The sun rises higher. The day begins. You turn away from the edge of the valley and walk back into the settlement. Back to the work that waits for you. The grinding and the scraping and the carrying and the planting and the harvesting. The 1,000 small tasks that make up a human life. The child that was born a few days ago is crying again. Its voice thin and insistent, its mother walks back and forth, making the soft shushing sound that mothers have made since before there were settlements, since before there were planted fields, since before there were walls and arguments and leaders and all the other things that civilization will bring. The sound is old, older than anything, older than the stones of the wall that the stranger described, older than the forgotten proto-cultures, older than the ice, older than human beings themselves, perhaps. This sound that mammals make to their young. This sound that means you are safe, you are loved, you are not alone. You sit down beside the old woman. She hands you a cup of the warm, bitter drink. You drink it slowly, feeling the heat spread through your chest, feeling the calm settle over you like a blanket, feeling the world slow down to the rhythm that you have known your entire life, the rhythm of the fire and the river and the turning of the seasons. The stranger's stories fade, the way all stories fade, becoming something that you remember but do not think about, something that is true but not important, something that will shape your decisions without you ever knowing that it is shaping them. The threshold of civilization is here. You are standing on it. All of you. The whole world. Moving slowly towards something that you cannot see and cannot name. something that will be called history, something that will be written down and remembered and studied and argued about for thousands of years after you are gone. But you do not know that. You only know the fire and the river and the woman beside you, and the child in its mother's arms, and the work that waits for you, and the sleep that will come when the work is done, and the night has fallen, and the stars have appeared in the sky, patient and ancient and indifferent to the small dramas of human life playing out beneath them. The old woman reaches out and takes your hand, her fingers thin and bony, her palm rough with calluses, her grip surprisingly strong. She does not say anything. You do not say anything. The two of you sit together in the morning light, watching the fire burn, watching the smoke rise, watching the world turn slowly toward whatever comes next, whatever lies beyond the threshold, whatever civilization will bring when it finally arrives, as it will arrive, as it is arriving now, in this moment, in this place, in the space between your hand and hers. The moon has risen, full and silver, casting its soft light across the valley like a blessing whispered in a language that has no words. The settlement sleeps beneath that light. The shelters are dark shapes huddled together on the gentle slope above the river. The fire has burned down to embers that glow red and orange beneath a blanket of ash. The smoke that rises from those embers is almost invisible in the moonlight, a faint shimmer in the air, a ghost of the warmth that kept the people alive through the darkness of the night. You are awake. Everyone else is sleeping. Perhaps you could not sleep. Perhaps you woke in the middle of the night and could not find your way back to your dreams. Perhaps you chose to wake, chose to sit up, chose to leave the warmth of your sleeping place and walk out into the moonlight because something called you here. Something whispered your name from the darkness, something that you cannot explain and would not try to explain even if you could. The ground is cool beneath your bare feet. The grass is wet with dew. The air is so still that you can hear your own heartbeat, slow and steady, keeping time with the pulse of the earth beneath you. The valley is different at night. The shapes that are familiar during the day become strange, full of shadows and possibilities that you do not notice when the sun is shining. The oak tree at the centre of the settlement is not just an oak tree now. It is something else, something ancient and wise and full of secrets. Its branches reach up toward the stars like the arms of someone asking a question that will never be answered. The river is not just a river now. It is a ribbon of silver winding through the darkness. Its surface reflects the moonlight in long, broken lines that move and change as the water moves. As if the river itself is dreaming. As if the river has dreams of its own, and you are watching them flow past. You walk away from the settlement, following the path that leads down to the river. Your feet find their way without needing to see. Your body remembers every turn and dip and hollow after so many years of walking this same path in daylight. The moonlight is bright enough to cast shadows, though the shadows are soft and grey. Not the sharp black shadows of the sun, something gentler, something that blends into the darkness around it, the way a whisper blends into the silence. Your shadow walks beside you, stretched long across the grass. For a moment, you think of it as a companion, someone who follows you everywhere, someone who is always there even when you forget to notice, someone who will be with you for as long as there is light to cast a shadow and ground to receive it. The river is louder at night, or perhaps it only seems louder because everything else is quiet. The water moves over stones and around fallen logs and through the narrow channels that it has carved for itself over thousands of years. Each movement makes a sound, small sounds that add up to something larger, something that is not quite music and not quite speech, but something in between, something that the people of this valley have been listening to for as long as there have been people in this valley. Something that will continue to sound long after the last person has gone and the shelters have crumbled and the planted fields have returned to meadow. You sit down on the bank, on a flat stone that was warmed by the sun all day and is still holding that warmth even now. In the middle of the night, when the air is cool and the dew is falling, the stone is smooth beneath you, worn by water and wind and the bodies of countless people who have sat here before you, watching the river flow, listening to the sounds of the night, thinking the thoughts that come only in darkness, the thoughts that are too soft and too fragile to survive the harsh light of day. You feel the presence of those people, not as ghosts or spirits, something more subtle, something in the stone itself, in the way it holds the warmth, in the way it fits against your body as if it was made for you, as if it has been waiting for you to sit here, on this night, under this moon, beside this river. The moonlight on the water is beautiful in a way that sunlight never is. Sunlight sparkles and dances and demands your attention. Moonlight is soft and gentle and asks nothing of you, only lets you watch, lets you breathe, lets you be still in a way that is difficult when the sun is shining and the world is awake and there are things to do and people to see and work that will not wait for another day. The moonlight is patient. The moonlight has all the time in the world. The moonlight does not care if you sit here for an hour or for the rest of the night or until the sun rises and the day begins again and the world wakes up and the moonlight fades away, retreating to wherever it goes during the day, waiting for the next night, the next darkness, the next time you need to sit beside a river and watch the water flow. An owl calls out from somewhere in the darkness, its voice low and soft, almost a whisper, almost a sigh, almost the sound of the wind moving through the trees. Another owl answers from farther away, then another from somewhere else. For a few moments, the night is filled with these voices, speaking to each other across the valley in a language that you do not understand, but that you feel in your bones, in your blood, in the deep, ancient part of your brain that still remembers what it was like to live in a world without shelters and fires and planted fields. A world where the night was not something to be feared, but something to be honoured, something to be watched and listened to and learned from. The owls fall silent. The river takes over again, the water flowing past, the sound of it steady and constant, like breathing, like a heartbeat, like the turning of the earth on its axis, too slow to feel, but always there, always happening, always carrying you and everyone you know and everyone you will ever know towards something that you cannot see and cannot name and cannot stop even if you wanted to. The river does not stop. The river does not pause to rest or catch its breath or consider whether it wants to keep flowing. The river flows because that is what rivers do. That is what they have always done. That is what they will always do. As long as there is water in the mountains and gravity pulling it downward and a channel for it to follow toward the sea. You lie back on the flat stone, your head resting on your folded arms, your eyes open to the sky. The stars are everywhere, more stars than you can count, more stars than you have ever seen. The moon is full and bright, but not so bright that it hides the stars, not so bright that it turns the sky into a pale, empty thing with only a few of the brightest stars showing through. The stars are patient. The old woman always says that. You feel that patience now, looking up at the sky, watching the stars move slowly across the darkness, so slowly that you cannot see them moving, but you know they are moving. You know that the sky now is not the same as the sky an hour ago, or the sky 100 years ago, or the sky that your grandparents saw when they were young, and lay on their backs on nights like this, looking up at the same stars, the same patient stars, the stars that do not change, the stars that are always there, even when you cannot see them, even when the clouds cover them, or the sun outshines them, or you forget to look up and notice that they are still there, still watching, still waiting. The Milky Way stretches across the sky, a river of light, a path of stars so faint and so many that they blend together into something that looks like mist, like smoke, like the breath of the earth rising up to meet the sky. Your ancestors looked at this same river of light and saw different things. Some saw a path that the spirits walked when they travelled from one world to another. Some saw the bones of a great creature that died at the beginning of time and whose skeleton was scattered across the sky. Some saw milk from the breasts of a goddess who nursed the entire universe, drop by drop, star by star, until the sky was full and the darkness was pushed back and the night became something beautiful instead of something frightening. You do not know what you see when you look at the Milky Way. You see light, perhaps, and distance, and the feeling of being very small and very large at the same time. A feeling that has no words, that has never had words, that will never have words, because some things are too big for words, too deep, too old. A shooting star falls across the sky, a line of fire so brief that you almost miss it, so bright that you cannot miss it. A reminder that the sky is not static, not fixed, not the same from one moment to the next. Alive, changing, full of movements and events that you cannot predict and cannot control, and can only watch with wonder and gratitude that you are here, on this night, under this sky, to see it happen. The shooting star is gone before you can make a wish. Before you can even think of a wish to make, you are left with the afterimage of its brightness burned into your eyes, fading slowly as you blink, as you look away. As you turn your attention back to the river of stars and the patient moon and the dark shapes of the trees against the softer darkness of the sky. The settlement is quiet behind you. No sound from the shelters except the occasional shift of someone turning in their sleep. The occasional murmur of a dreamer speaking to people who are not there. The occasional sigh of someone who is resting but not resting deeply. Whose mind is still working, still worrying, still turning over the events of the day and the plans for tomorrow and all the things that cannot be controlled and cannot be predicted and cannot be changed by worrying about them. The fire has burned down to almost nothing, just a few embers glowing faintly beneath the ash. The smoke that rises from those embers is so thin that you can barely see it, barely smell it. Only know that it is there because you have known fire your entire life and you can feel its presence even when you cannot see it. Like the presence of someone you love who is sleeping in the next shelter. Close enough to touch if you wanted to. Close enough to call out to if you needed to. But sleeping. Resting, dreaming. You do not want to wake them. Do not want to disturb the peace that has settled over the valley like a blanket, like a blessing, like the moonlight itself. The river continues to flow. The stars continue to move. The earth continues to turn. You lie on the flat stone beside the river, your body relaxed, your mind quiet, your heart beating slowly, steadily, keeping time with the pulse of the world. You think about nothing, or you think about everything, or you think about something in between. Something that is not quite a thought, but more than a feeling. Something that has no name and needs no name. Something that is simply the experience of being alive on a night like this, under a sky like this, beside a river like this, in a valley that has been home to your people for longer than anyone can remember, and will be home to your people for longer than anyone can imagine, if the world allows it. If the changes that are coming do not sweep it away, if the threshold of civilization does not lead to a place where nights like this are forgotten, where rivers are dammed and diverted and polluted, where the stars are hidden by the lights of cities that never sleep, where the quiet is replaced by noise and the darkness is replaced by light and the peace is replaced by the endless, restless energy of people who have forgotten how to be still. But you do not think about that. Or you think about it only for a moment, and then you let it go. The way the river lets go of the leaves that fall into it, carrying them downstream. Away from this place, away from this moment, away from the stillness that you have found on this flat stone beside this silver river under this patient moon. The future will come, whatever it brings, but the future is not here yet. The future is not now. Now is the moonlight and the river and the stars and the soft, cool ground beneath you and the warmth of the stone against your back and the sound of the owls calling to each other across the valley. Their voices low and soft, like a lullaby sung by the night itself. You close your eyes. The world darkens. But not completely. Moonlight still filters through your eyelids, turning the darkness red and gold. You feel the light on your face like a touch, like a hand, like the hand of someone who loves you and wants you to rest, wants you to sleep, wants you to let go of everything that is keeping you awake and drift down into the deep, slow current of the night. The current that carries everyone eventually, the current that has no destination and no schedule and no urgency. The current that is simply the movement of the world from one moment to the next, from one breath to the next, from one heartbeat to the next. The river whispers to you, its voice soft and constant. The stars watch over you, patient and ancient. The earth holds you, warm and steady. The moon lights your way into the darkness of sleep, the deep, dreamless sleep that comes only when you are truly tired, truly at peace, truly ready to let go of the day and all its struggles and sink down into the rest that has been waiting for you since the moment you were born. The old woman says that sleep is the cousin of death. But she says it without fear because she knows that sleep is also the cousin of life, that without sleep there is no waking, that without rest there is no work, that without darkness there is no light, that without the night there is no morning, no dawn. No sun rising over the eastern hills to begin another day in the long, slow, ancient story of human beings living on this earth, beneath this sky, beside this river that flows forever toward the sea. The moon moves across the sky, the stars wheel overhead, the earth turns. You sleep, your body still on the flat stone, your breath slow and regular. Your mind drifting through dreams that you will not remember when you wake. Dreams of rivers and forests and great shaggy beasts that no longer walk the earth. Dreams of people you have never met and places you have never been. Dreams that are not really dreams at all, but memories. Memories of the world before you were born, before your parents were born, before anyone was born, when the ice covered the land and the great herds moved across the frozen plains and the first human beings learned to make fire and shape stone and tell stories that would outlast them by thousands of years. The night is long, the stars are patient. The midnight valley holds you in its silence, its stillness, its deep and ancient peace. The river flows, the owls call, the moon shines. You sleep, the world turns. Everything is exactly as it should be, exactly as it has always been, exactly as it will always be. For as long as there are nights like this, and valleys like this, and people like you to lie on flat stones beside silver rivers and watch the stars move slowly across the sky, and feel the earth turn beneath them and know, without knowing how they know, that they are part of something larger than themselves, something that has no beginning and no end, something that will outlast the ice and the warmth and the civilizations that are yet to come, something that is simply the world, the ancient, patient, unhurried world, moving slowly onward. The morning comes slowly to the valley, the way all mornings come in a world without clocks or calendars or any reason to hurry toward the dawn. First, the darkness softens, turning from deep black to a grey so pale it is almost white, then to the faintest blue along the eastern edge of the sky where the sun will soon appear. Then the birds begin to sing, not all at once, but one by one, as though each is waiting for the one beside it to finish before adding its own voice to the chorus. Then the light reaches the river, touching the surface, turning the water from silver to gold to the deep blue of the sky reflected in its gentle flow. You wake slowly, your body still heavy with sleep, your mind still partly in the dreams that carried you through the night. You are lying on the flat stone beside the river, the stone that was warm when you lay down and is cool now. Cool with the dampness of the night, cool with the dew that has settled on everything. Your limbs are stiff from sleeping in one position for so long. When you sit up, your joints protest, making small sounds that seem loud in the quiet of the early morning. The river is still flowing, the stars have faded from the sky. The moon is a pale ghost low on the western horizon, about to disappear behind the hills. You stand up slowly, stretching your arms above your head, feeling the pull in your shoulders and your back. You look around the valley as if seeing it for the first time. The grass is wet with dew, sparkling in the growing light. The trees along the riverbank are dark against the brightening sky, their leaves moving slightly in a breeze, so gentle you cannot feel it on your skin, only see it in the motion of the smallest branches. The settlement is quiet, the shelters still closed, the fire still nothing but embers beneath their blanket of ash. Everyone is still sleeping. Everyone except you, and perhaps the old woman, who sometimes wakes before the dawn and sits by the cold fire, waiting for the sun, waiting for the day, waiting for whatever the day will bring. You walk back along the path to the settlement. Your feet leave dark prints in the dew-covered grass. You find the old woman sitting in her usual place, her back against the largest shelter, her eyes closed, her hands resting in her lap. She is not sleeping. You can tell because her breathing is too shallow, too alert, because her fingers are moving slightly, tracing patterns on her thighs. Patterns that might be words or might be nothing at all. Only the restless movement of hands that have been still for too long. You sit down beside her. She opens her eyes. She looks at you with an expression that is hard to read. Something between sadness and peace. Something between acceptance and longing. Something that belongs only to the very old. The ones who have seen so much that they no longer know how to feel anything simply. You sit together in the silence of the early morning, watching the light grow, watching the shadows shrink, watching the world come back to life after the long darkness of the night. The birds are louder now, their chorus filling the valley with sound. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks. Another answers. Then they are both silent. The birds take over again, singing as if they have never sung before, as if this morning is the first morning, as if the world is new and fresh and full of possibilities that have never been imagined. The old woman speaks, her voice low and rough, the words coming out slowly, the way water seeps from a spring, not rushing but steady, constant, impossible to stop once it has begun. She speaks of the gentle shore, the place where the river meets the sea, the place where the fresh water and the salt water mix and become something that is neither one nor the other. Something new, something different, something that can only exist at the edge, at the boundary, at the threshold between two worlds. She has never seen the sea, she tells you. But her mother told her about it. Her mother's mother before her. The story has been passed down through so many generations that it has become something more than a story. Something closer to a memory. Something that feels true, even though no one alive has ever seen it with their own eyes. The gentle shore, she calls it. As she speaks, you can almost see it. Almost feel it. Almost taste the salt on your tongue and the sand beneath your feet and the wind coming off the water. Cool and damp and full of the smell of things that live beneath the waves. The river that flows through your valley. The river that has been your companion and your teacher and your provider for your entire life. This river eventually reaches the sea. After many days and many nights. After passing through valleys and forests and plains that you will never see. After joining with other rivers and becoming wider and slower and more powerful, until finally it can go no further. Until finally it reaches the place where the land ends and the water begins. The place where the river gives up its name and its identity and becomes part of something larger, something vast and deep and unknowable. That is what survives, the old woman says. That is what remains. Not the individual rivers. Not the names that people give to them. Not the stories that are told about them around the fire on long winter nights. What survives is the water itself. The flow. The movement. The journey from the mountains to the sea. From the high places to the low. From the cold springs, where the water is born, to the warm embrace of the ocean that receives it at the end of its long journey. The rivers come and go, changing their courses, drying up in times of drought, flooding in times of rain. But the water continues, the water persists. The water finds a way always to flow toward the sea. The forgotten millennia, the missing millennia, the time before civilization that the people of the future will try to understand and will only partially succeed in understanding. These millennia are like the river, the old woman says. They flow beneath the surface of history, hidden from view, invisible to the people who will come after. But they are there. They are always there, shaping everything that comes after them, carrying the silt and the seeds and the memories of all the people who lived and died and loved and fought and planted and harvested and told stories around fires on nights exactly like this one. Nights when the moon was full and the stars were patient and the world was quiet and the people who lived in it were just beginning to understand who they were and where they were going. What survives from those forgotten millennia, she says, is not the names of kings or the dates of battles or the monuments that were built to honour the powerful. What survives is smaller, quieter, more ordinary. The knowledge of how to plant a seed and care for it until it grows. The knowledge of how to shape a stone into a tool that can cut and scrape and carve. The knowledge of how to make fire, to keep it alive, to use it for warmth and light and cooking and protection. The knowledge of how to tell a story, how to remember it, how to pass it down from one generation to the next so that it does not die when the people who first told it have turned to dust. These are the things that survived, the old woman says. These are the things that will always survive, as long as there are human beings on the earth. As long as there are children to teach, and stories to tell, and fires to sit around on cold winter nights. The names of the forgotten proto-cultures are lost. Their languages are silent. Their faces are unknown. But their knowledge lives on. In you, in the old woman, in the child who was born a few days ago, and will grow up learning the same skills and the same stories and the same ways of living that have been passed down for thousands of years. From mother to daughter, from father to son, from generation to generation. Across the vast empty expanse of the missing millennia that history erased but could never completely destroy, the sun rises above the eastern hills, light pours across the valley. The world is bright and warm and full of colour. The old woman stops speaking. You sit together in the silence, watching the day begin, watching the settlement wake, watching the people emerge from their shelters and stretch and yawn and begin the work of another day. The child is crying again, its voice thin and insistent. Its mother walks back and forth, making the soft shushing sound that mothers have made since before the ice. Since before the first seed was planted, since before the first story was told around the first fire on the first night that human beings huddled together against the darkness and the cold. The gentle shore is not a place you can visit. Not really, not the way you visit the river or the meadow or the hills where the best flint is found. The gentle shore is a way of thinking, a way of understanding, a way of seeing the connection between what came before and what comes after, between the rivers of the past and the ocean of the future, between the forgotten millennia and the recorded history that will eventually sweep them aside and forget them and then rediscover them. Layer by layer, fragment by fragment, in the soil and the stones and the stories that survived against all odds. You will never see the sea, probably, will never stand on the shore where the river meets the ocean and watch the fresh water mix with the salt, but you can imagine it. The old woman can imagine it. The child who was born a few days ago will imagine it someday, when it is old enough to understand the stories that are told around the fire, the stories about the journey that all rivers make, the journey that all human beings make, from the high places to the low, from the beginning to the end, from the forgotten past to the uncertain future. The day passes, as days always pass, with work and rest and work again, with the rhythm of the river and the movement of the sun and the soft sounds of people living their lives. You help repair a fish trap, your hands weaving the willow branches together in the pattern that you learned when you were young, a pattern that has been used by the people of this river for as long as anyone can remember. You help carry water from the river to the settlement, your shoulders aching under the weight of the containers, your feet slipping on the muddy path. You help grind seeds and scrape hides and tend the fire and watch the children. All the 1,000 small tasks that keep a settlement alive. And through it all, you think about the gentle shore, about the place where the river meets the sea, about the water that flows through your valley and will eventually, after many days and many nights, reach the ocean and become part of something larger. You think about the forgotten millennia, the missing millennia, the time before civilization. You wonder what the people of the future will think about when they try to imagine this time, this place, this life that you are living. Will they understand? Will they come close? Will they feel the warmth of the fire and the cool of the river and the softness of the animal hides and the taste of the roasted roots and the sound of the stories told in the darkness? Or will they only see the fragments, the broken pieces, the hints and whispers that the earth has held onto for all these years? And will they try to piece them together into something that makes sense? Something that tells a story, something that explains how human beings lived before the first cities were built, and the first words were written, and the first kings sat on their thrones and began to shape the world into something that would eventually be called civilization. The old woman would say that it does not matter, probably. The old woman would say that the people of the future will understand what they need to understand and will misunderstand the rest. That is fine. That is how it has always been. That is how it will always be. Because the past is not something that can be captured and preserved and understood completely. The past is like the river, always flowing, always changing, always carrying things away and bringing new things in their place. The past is not a place you can visit. Not really. Not the way you visit the river or the meadow or the hills where the best flint is found. The past is a story that you tell yourself. A story that changes every time you tell it. A story that is true and not true at the same time. A story that matters because it helps you understand who you are and where you came from and what you might become. The sun sets. The fire is lit. The people gather around it. Someone tells a story about the first people who came to this river. The ones who built the first shelters, who dug the first storage pits, who decided that this was the place where they would stop moving and start living. The story is old, older than the oldest person in the settlement, older than the oldest stories that anyone can remember. It has changed over time, the way all stories change, gaining new details and losing others, shifting to fit the needs of the people who tell it and the people who hear it. But the core of the story remains the same. The moment of decision. The choice to stay, the commitment to this place, and to each other, and to the life that is possible only when people stop running and start building. You listen to the story. Feel the warmth of the fire on your face. Smell the smoke, and the river, and the damp earth. Hear the voices of the people around you, low and steady. Think about the gentle shore, the place where the river meets the sea, the place where the forgotten millennia meet recorded history, the place where everything that came before flows into everything that comes after and becomes something new, something different, something that cannot be predicted or controlled or fully understood. Only experienced, only lived, only passed down from one generation to the next, like the knowledge of how to plant a seed and care for it until it grows. Like the knowledge of how to shape a stone into a tool that can cut and scrape and carve. Like the knowledge of how to make fire and keep it alive and use it for warmth and light and cooking and protection. Like the knowledge of how to tell a story and remember it and pass it down so that it does not die when the people who first told it have turned to dust. The gentle shore is where the echoes of the forgotten millennia live on, carried by the current of time, flowing from the past into the present and from the present into the future. Never stopping, never resting, always moving toward the sea. The gentle shore is where you find yourself, in this moment, on this night, in this settlement beside this river, surrounded by people who have been your family for as long as you can remember and will be your family for as long as you live. The gentle shore is not a place of endings, but a place of beginnings. Not a place where things disappear, but a place where things are transformed. Where the fresh water of the river becomes the salt water of the sea, where the forgotten past becomes the remembered present, where the stories that were told around ancient fires become the stories that are told around this fire. Tonight, by you, by the old woman, by the child who was born a few days ago and will one day tell these same stories to its own children, keeping them alive, keeping them flowing, keeping them connected to the gentle shore where everything that matters survives. Not in books or monuments or the names of kings, in the hearts and minds and hands of people who know how to live, who know how to love, who know how to tell a story and listen to a story and pass a story onto someone else who will do the same. Generation after generation, across the vast, empty expanse of time that separates the first human beings from the last. The forgotten millennia from the recorded history that will eventually forget them, and then remember them, and then forget them again. In the endless cycle of remembering and forgetting that is the true story of human beings on this ancient earth. The light is changing now. The way light always changes when a long journey is approaching its end. The sun hangs low above the western hills, painting the valley in shades of gold and amber and deep, soft orange. Shadows stretch out across the ground until they touch the edges of everything, connecting the shelters to the trees to the river to the hills beyond. You are standing on the low ridge overlooking the settlement, the same ridge where you have stood 1,000 times before. But today, something feels different. Something feels final. Something feels like the last page of a story that has been told for a very long time and is finally reaching its end. Below you, the settlement prepares for the night. The fire has been built up. Flames leap toward the darkening sky, sending sparks into the air like small, brief stars. The people gather around it, their voices low and soft, their bodies relaxed after another day of work and rest and the 1,000 small tasks that make up a human life. The child that was born a few days ago sleeps in its mother's arms, its face peaceful, its breathing slow and regular. Its dreams carry it somewhere that you cannot follow, somewhere that belongs only to the very young. The ones who have not yet learned to be afraid of the darkness or the cold or the long, slow passage of time that carries everything away in the end. The old woman sits in her usual place, her back against the largest shelter, her hands resting in her lap, her eyes fixed on the flames. She looks older than she did this morning. Or perhaps it is only the light. The way the sunset shadows settle into the lines on her face and make them deeper, make them darker, make them look like the lines on a map of a country that no one has ever visited, a country that exists only in memory and story and the soft, fading light of a day that is ending. She does not look up as you approach, but she shifts slightly, making room for you beside her. You sit down, feeling the warmth of the fire on your face and the cool of the evening air on your back. The first cities are rising somewhere in the world, though you do not know that, cannot know that, will never know that, somewhere to the east. Beyond the mountains that you can see on clear days, beyond the rivers that flow down from those mountains, beyond the plains and the forests and the valleys that stretch out toward the rising sun. People are building walls and digging foundations and laying out streets in patterns that have never been seen before. They gather together in numbers that would be impossible for you to imagine. Thousands of people living in the same place, eating food that comes from fields that stretch as far as the eye can see, trading goods that come from places so far away that no one in your settlement has ever heard of them. They are inventing writing, scratching marks on clay tablets that will outlast them by thousands of years. Marks that will tell the story of their kings and their battles and their gods and their laws. Marks that will be read by people who live so far in the future that they might as well be from another world entirely. But here, in this valley, beside this river, beneath this sky, none of that has arrived yet. The threshold of civilization is still a threshold, still a doorway that you are standing in, still a place between one way of living and another, between the forgotten millennia and the recorded history that is about to begin. You feel it. Perhaps the way you feel a storm coming long before you see the clouds, the way the air changes and the birds go quiet and the animals seek shelter and everything waits, holding its breath for something that has not yet arrived but is coming, is definitely coming, is already on its way. The old woman speaks, her voice low and soft, barely audible above the crackling of the fire. She speaks of the landing, the place where the journey ends, the place where the river finally reaches the sea and the fresh water becomes salt, and the long, slow flow of the past meets the vast, deep ocean of the future. The landing is not a place of arrival, she says, not a destination that you reach and then stop moving. The landing is a transition, a transformation, a moment of becoming something new, while still carrying within yourself everything that you have been. The river does not disappear when it reaches the sea. It becomes part of the sea. But it is still there, still flowing, still carrying the memory of the mountains where it was born, and the valleys where it grew, and the people who lived beside it, and drank from it, and fished in it, and told stories about it around fires on nights like this one. The landing is where you are now, she says. All of you. Everyone in this settlement. Everyone in every settlement like it. Scattered across the world, living through the same changes, feeling the same shifts, wondering what comes next. You are standing at the edge of something, at the threshold of something, at the landing between the world that was and the world that is about to be. The forgotten millennia are behind you, the missing millennia that history erased but could never completely destroy. The recorded millennia are ahead of you. The time of writing and cities and kings and battles and all the things that will be remembered and written down and studied and argued about for thousands of years after you are gone. The sun sets, the stars appear, the fire burns, the people gather. The old woman speaks, you listen. The world turns, slowly, patiently, the way it has always turned, the way it will always turn. Long after the last city has crumbled, and the last king has been forgotten, and the last word has been written and read and lost to the silence of time. The landing is not an ending, she says. The landing is a beginning. The river does not end at the sea. The river becomes the sea. The sea becomes the clouds. The clouds become the rain. The rain becomes the river again, flowing down from the mountains, through the valleys, past the settlements, toward the gentle shore where everything begins and ends and begins again. In the endless cycle of water and earth and sky, and the people who live between them, who love and work and tell stories and die, and are remembered for a while, and then forgotten, and then remembered again. In the dreams of those who come after, in the fragments that the earth holds on to, in the stories that are told around fires on nights like this one, when the moon is full and the stars are patient and the world is quiet and the landing is here. Is now is the only place you have ever been, the only place you will ever be, the only place that matters, because it is yours, because you are in it, because you are part of it, because you are the river and the sea and the rain and the river again, flowing forever toward the gentle shore. The night is long, the stars are patient, the fire burns low, the people sleep, the valley is quiet, the world, without hurry, moves on.